All right, good evening, everybody. I'm calling the meeting to order. This is the time and place set for the regular April 2026 meeting of the Royal Oak Planning Commission. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask everybody up here to introduce themselves, starting down on my right.
Meg Truba, Director of Community and Economic Development.
Charlene Douglas.
Brian Cooper.
Joseph Murphy, Director of Planning.
Josh Markham, City Attorney's Office.
Woody Gontina, City Commissioner.
On the 14th of April, I'm Jim Ellison, Planning Commissioner.
Travis Moore.
And I'm Gary Cusada, the chairperson. We'll get started here. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the March 10 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Have the commissioners had a look at these? Do you have any questions or comments, corrections, or a motion regarding these minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Douglas. All right. Any discussion required on these minutes? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to call for the voice vote to approve the minutes from March 10th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nobody abstained. All right. The meeting minutes are approved. Next thing, before we go to public comment, does anybody, any of the commissioners or council or the department need to add anything to the agenda tonight?
I'm going to delete something.
Oh.
The listed sign variance. The petitioner has worked with the building division, and they've noted that it does not require a variance. So that item has, that petitioner's application been returned to them, application fee refunded, and they are in the process of getting a permit to put in the sign as presented. It does not need a variance. So anyone that's here for that, no need to stick around.
All righty. Mark that off. All right, so next item of business is public comment. So if you are a member of the public and you want to come up and talk on a non-agenda item, come on up, introduce yourself for the record, and give us your 3-minute pitch.
Hello, I'm Alex Morford. I've been a homeowner in Royal Oak for 7 years. I'm also a volunteer with EMB Oakland County. Affordable housing is economically difficult to build. There is not enough federal and state funding available to meet the need. If you haven't already, I kindly request you watch last month's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. In that meeting, the ZBA was asked to grant a modest parking variance to enable affordable housing in our downtown. The home builder stated the parking variance was necessary to make building 45 affordable homes for our neighbors economically viable. Unfortunately, the ZBA members chose parking over people. They failed to grant the modest parking variance. However, the ZBA only reviews proposals that won't meet the current zoning ordinance. If we had a reasonable zoning ordinance, this decision wouldn't have gone before the ZBA. By requiring so much parking, funding that should be used to build more homes for our neighbors goes towards building parking spaces. More parking means fewer homes. About 1 week before the ZBA meeting, I was speaking with a single mom who lives in Royal Oak. She is struggling to pay rent. She needs Royal Oak to add affordable homes so her children don't have to change schools. I told her our city leadership were doing everything they could to bring affordable homes to Royal Oak as quickly as possible, and at that time I meant it. I hope the city finds a solution so I can share good news next time I see her. However, hoping isn't a good strategy. We need action as well. While you work on the zoning rewrite, please think about how parking requirements hurt our community and make it less welcoming. And then also, the Michigan Housing Readiness Package is before the state legislature in Lansing. This has bipartisan support, and it would do things like legalize ADUs statewide and set parking maximums. As you're working through the zoning rewrite, I highly encourage you to review those bills and see if some of that can be put into the zoning rewrite from the start so that you're not making, odd changes afterwards to get in line with the state requirements that are coming. Thank you.
Hold on. Do you have the bill numbers?
I have them
Oh, not you can't tell us what they are right now.
I have 57 seconds, so let me look them up.
All right. 56,
Good use of time.
55.
If you count, you're going to slow me down. All right. The bill numbers include House Bill 5585, which would legalize accessory dwelling units by right statewide. House Bill 5584, which legalizes duplexes by right in residential zones. House Bill 5583, limiting excessive setback requirements in urban areas. House Bill 5582, reforming parking and mobile home restrictions and zoning. House Bill 5581, updating zoning law to allow smaller homes. House Bill 5571, allowing mid-rise multifamily buildings with a single stairway. There's a few more. Abundant Housing Michigan is leading the charge on these statewide, so their website has information about the entire package.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, anybody else from the public want to come up and speak? Right here.
Hi, I'm Tony Snow. I was at that same meeting last month with this young lady, and I think it's kind of rich that someone that lives 2.5 miles away from the actual development. I own the property at 509 East 3rd Street. It's a 3-unit apartment, very affordable, and I think it's kind of rich that someone says, I don't care about the place where that development's going to go on, I just want it to happen. 3rd Street is very, very busy with parking during the day. I'm down there a lot. I do a lot of maintenance of the building. When I go down there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I have to park, if not in my own driveway, and move when the tenants want to, exit the property. I have to park at least a block away. So I think it's parking is a major, major factor in downtown, especially where that building would have been. So I appreciate the vote of this committee last time, and I'm hoping that stays still. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else in the public who wants to come up and speak on a non-agenda item? All right, I don't see anybody, so I'm going to close the public comment part of the hearing, and we'll move on to the next unfinished business. This is a public hearing on the zoning ordinance text amendment. Mr. Murphy.
Chair.
No.
Consistent with last month, I'm going to recuse myself from this item due to my previous participation at the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Understood.
All right.
We'll wait for you to mosey out.
I am moseying.
All right, Mr. Murphy, what do you got for us?
In the one-family residential large lot zoning district, senior accessory dwelling units no larger than 600 square feet in area are special land use. And they count towards the maximum allowable square footage for the site, which is of living space, which is 3,500 square feet. The petitioner is proposing a text amendment that would exempt those senior accessory dwelling units from that calculation of 3,500 square feet. So you'll see their proposed text amendment highlighted in yellow on the monitors in the room. So they're looking to, again, to have a text amendment which exempts senior accessory dwellings from that maximum calculation. They did provide you with a letter of explanation as to why they're asking you to make a recommendation to the City Commission on this proposed amendment. With that, I think it may be advantageous to have the petitioner provide some comments to you, and then I think that'll lead to some natural conversation with them, and then back and forth with myself.
Okay, just for the record, if I understand this, the proposal is to exempt the ADU square footage, but in one family large lot residential.
Yes, correct.
Not
Very
overall.
specific. Very specific to that zoning district.
Okay. All right. So let's call the petitioner forward. Unless there's any other questions for council or department head here. Okay. Seeing none, let's call the petitioner forward and introduce yourself for the record, your whole team, and tell us why you're entitled to the relief you're seeking.
Hey, good evening. My name is George Blower. I'll let my attorney announce himself.
Good evening, Chairman Patrick Howe, members of the commission. Patrick Howe on behalf of the petitioner.
So I'm a homeowner here in Royal Oak. I was raised by a single mother who sacrificed everything to provide for me. Today, the roles are reversed. I'm the primary caregiver for my mother, Susan, who's battling Alzheimer's. She desperately needs my support, but due to her condition and safety needs, she cannot live in our house as it is currently constructed. to bring her home and provide her with the dedicated, accessible space she requires, we recently went through the process and successfully received approval to build a senior accessory dwelling unit on our property. But without a minor text amendment, that approval is unfortunately worthless to us. Here's the catch. Our home was already at the city's 3,500 square foot limitation. Because the current code counts the SADU's 600 square feet against our primary home's cap, we are barred from actually building the unit. Applying standard square footage limits to a SADU treats it like a normal home expansion, but a SADU is fundamentally different. By law, I cannot use that square footage for myself. It is legally restricted as a separate living space for a senior family member. It is not extra space for the homeowner. It is a necessary medical and housing accommodation for my mother. It creates a contradiction to grant Royal Oak residents the right to house aging parents, only to block it using general floor area restrictions. I'm asking you to add language to accommodate this. My mother was there for me when I needed her most, and I just want the ability to be there for her now. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Counselor?
Thank you. Mr. Blauer indicated a very personal story, but I want to explain an issue in the ordinance. We're trying to build the first senior accessory dwelling unit in the city, utilizing the ordinance provision that's been around for years. And I think we've figured out why it hasn't been utilized. We have a 3,500 square foot single-family restriction on single-family homes. But the ordinance also allows you to convert a single-family home into a multifamily home, specifically a senior accessory dwelling along with a single-family home. But we don't have is a necessary exception. We don't have the exception to allow you to go over 3,500 square feet to bring your mother home or bring a parent home. And we've narrowly crafted an ordinance amendment to address this. It only applies to the large lot zoning district, which really are the only lots that would accommodate this. Because otherwise you're going to run into side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. So these are the right lots for these types of accessory structures. And it also says that you must meet all other requirements. So the only narrow change here is to recognize, well, okay, the city and the master plan really support senior accessory dwellings. The ordinance restricts single-family homes to 3,500 square feet. How do we do this? Well, if you're 2,900 square feet or more, you need a variance. And what's the variance argument? I want to build a senior accessory dwelling, and it's restricted by 3,500 square feet. And that'll happen time and time again. So what we're asking for is to narrowly carve out in the large lot zoning district an exception to the 3,500 square feet for just senior accessory dwellings, which has a very thought out process for registration and in reporting, making sure it's not abused by rental units or non-seniors, to allow homeowners to construct these dwellings connected to their homes for this narrow purpose. We joke, going back and forth, I said, well, you could build a garage to park a Porsche, but you couldn't bring your mom home for a senior accessory dwelling. The usable floor area definition is the sum of gross horizontal area of each story, floor, or level of a building measured from exterior faces of exterior walls without deduction for interior walls, closets, stairways, openings to lower floors, mechanical or utility rooms, or shafts at any level, excluding areas of unfinished attics, breezeways, basements, and unenclosed porches, and areas within the building utilized for the required off-street parking spaces. We need about 300 square feet here, but it's a bigger issue than that. We haven't had a senior accessory dwelling constructed in this city, and the ordinance has been on the books for many years. We don't believe this text amendment would be abused, misapplied, and really we think we have the support of the planning department, but we're stuck because they're in the middle of updating the ordinance. That's really the only thing I read in the staff report against this, is that we're in the middle of an update. We think it's premature. Well, we don't think it's premature, and it's certainly needed by Mr. Blauer. The ordinance update could take years, and it might never happen. What we're proposing tonight doves together two sections of your ordinance, a restriction on usable floor area, which is of keen interest to the city, and an interest in in implementing the senior accessory dwelling provisions as called for in the master plan. The 2025 master plan specifically calls out efforts to age in place. It states, aging in community refers to the ability for seniors to stay connected to their community, maintaining social bonds and systems of support as they age, rather than having to move to senior housing that can be isolating for some and short supply in Royal Oak. The benefits of aging in community are enjoyed by people at every point in the life cycle, since younger community members benefit from proximity to their parents and grandparents. Elders are enabled to maintain supportive connections with friends and family that become especially important in later years, when connections to community can both contribute to a high quality of life and reduce the need for specialized senior care. So why haven't any been built? This ordinance amendment is authorized under section 770.130 of your ordinance, and there's 6 standards. The proposed amendment would correct an error or clarify the intent of this chapter. We think there's an error here. We think that the 3,500 limitation was added to the ordinance, but we didn't address the senior accessory dwelling provision, which was on the books. And it's not appropriate. It's 3,500 square feet for single family. Is 3,500 square feet appropriate for single family with a senior accessory dwelling? We don't think it is. The second standard, documentation has been provided from the zoning administrator indicating problems and conflicts in implementation or interpretation. The only option for Mr. Blauer is to seek a variance, and everyone else with a home that might have enough room to fit a senior accessory dwelling. And we don't think that is the appropriate route. And we do have support of that from the meeting with the planning department. The next standard, the proposed amendment would address potential legal issues or administrative problems. There might be one here. You know, we have an ordinance that allows for the authorization of a senior accessory dwelling, but we really don't have one, a means to build them on the majority of the lots in the large home district because of their existing size. The next standard, the proposed amendment would address and promote compliance with changes in other city ordinances and county, state, and federal legislation. I think it's well known, our community is aging, and efforts like this to add senior accessory dwellings is well supported at every level. The next factor, the proposed amendment is supported by findings, reports, studies, or other documentation. Mr. Blauer was before you last year on a special land use permit for this exact same request, and he had unanimous approval. He ran into issues at the Board of Zoning Appeals, and we're here to fix that. The next standard, other criteria is determined by the Planning Commission, City Commission, which protect the health, safety, welfare. We submit that this narrowly tailored text amendment would further the health of our community by encouraging what's called for in the master plan. We ask for your support tonight. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, are there questions for the petitioner or petitioner's counsel? Oh, well, if there's no questions, we should. Okay, why don't you have a seat, and we're going to open this up to the public hearing. I think we opened the public hearing last time you were here, but we didn't do anything because it was withdrawn there at the moment or postponed. So if there's anybody out in the public who would like to come up and speak on this agenda item, come on up.
Hello, I'm Alex Morford. I'm a resident of Royal Oak and a member of Yimby-Oakland County. I support this zoning amendment. I believe no one has actually built a senior accessory dwelling using the current ordinance because it's so difficult to meet the requirements. Also, I believe the current maximum floor area requirement was changed more recently than the senior accessory housing ordinance. Since no one has actually built accessory housing, the impact of the maximum floor area ordinance on the senior accessory housing ordinance was likely not directly considered during its revisions. I can see how this issue came to be, and it seems reasonable to correct this portion of the current ordinance. I think it's unreasonable to suggest that the owner waits a year for the zoning ordinance to be updated. His family would benefit now. Furthermore, since at least mid-2019, over 6 years ago, changes to the Royal Oak ADU ordinance have been on hold for the new master plan. You can see the October 2019 Planning Commission meeting minutes that discuss we're going to wait for staff, or we're going to tell staff not to do anything until we get the new master plan. I don't think the intent was to wait this long. As we all know, the master plan was a long process. But, we've been in this limbo with the ADUs for so long. As you also know, it's going to be another year or so before we get the zoning ordinance update. In that zoning ordinance update, I hope we have a huge revamp that makes these better, across the city as a whole. But right now, I think this is a really reasonable update to the current zoning while we're in this limbo. Thank you.
All right, anybody else out in the public? Come on up.
No sense seeing you here, Tony.
Tony Snow, live in Royal Oak for most of my life. I was not planning to say anything tonight, so, but although she and I disagree on the last project, I'm totally in favor of what they're doing today. That's an awesome project. I don't have any of the information. Like I said, I wasn't here to say, talk or anything, but I think that's a great move for him. So I agree and agree with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else in the public would like to come up and speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and then come back to this side of the table. Ask my team up here, do you want to converse with the petitioner? Would you like to have a discussion? Who would like to pipe up here? Mr. Ellison.
I'll start this off. We're living in a society now where your parents need to be taken care of. And I'm citing from personal example of the recent health scare I went through. Fortunately, my daughter lived next door. And so I could just come over and it was taken care of, and it continues on. This suggestion that we wait until the zoning ordinance is updated by the contractor that we're doing makes us wait, and we don't know how long his mother's got to wait. And I think we can try to come to some solution so they can get on with the process of adding their accessory dwelling unit and still accomplish our goals on the master plan, because we can tweak that master plan or the zoning ordinance all we want. But I think we've got a situation right now where we've got a gentleman who wants to take care of his mother and wants to get her in the house, and because they're being held up by a stipulation in the zoning ordinance that won't let him.
All right.
So I'll admit that it's been a while since we first looked at the plan for this structure. And I should have probably gone back to that meeting and looked at the designs and so forth. But my question to the petitioner is there a size of the addition which would keep you under the cap?
The 3,500 square foot cap?
Yeah.
No, there wouldn't be, because I'm already above that 3,500 square feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
Thanks.
Mr. Cantina.
So I have a question for Mr. Murphy. There were statements to the effect that this would be the first senior accessory dwelling unit in the city. The senior accessory dwelling units are currently the only type of accessory dwelling units allowed in our zoning ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Is that an accurate statement that that there are in fact no other senior accessory dwelling units that have been built within the existing zoning ordinance?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Since this provision was put in place, yes.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, nothing else has been constructed.
Okay, thank you.
Just a clarification, and you're talking about, aren't there interior ADUs that exist that you know of?
Not that have come in front of you for special land use approval since the provision was put in place in 2001 and have been built, no.
Okay, that's a different question, though. The question was, are there any?
Well, I'm not certain because we don't require a separate license for them, and we didn't have an defined approval process we didn't call them out as a land use and have an approval process for them in the zoning ordinance prior to 2001. So there may be some out there prior to 2001, but obviously none that have gone through this process. And so again, we don't require them to, ones that predate this ordinance provision, there's no registration or notification. I'm unaware.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry, did you have your hand up? Mr. Cooper?
So in reading into this, it sounds like this is a square footage problem. This is the max square footage. When we reviewed this, I believe we met all of the criteria that was required to pass this, it just comes down to a maximum square footage of 3,500 square feet.
Yes.
So if we were to try to do an addition within the building of a multi-generational suite that's attached to the house as a full addition versus doing an accessory unit that's touching, this still comes down to square footage. There's no difference with that. There's more strict rules doing this route than it would be to try to expand the home for just the additional square footage for an addition.
Well, an addition that's defined as a separate dwelling, would still need to follow these ordinance provisions.
But if it were attached to a house, I've built new homes all the time where it's just an addition where you've got a separate area with a small, maybe a kitchenette or not, but a separate bathroom, bedroom, little sitting living area. Would that be considered an ADU if it's attached to the home and, via a breezeway hallway that connects to the existing home?
Not if it was a breezeway or hallway where it was if there was a clear defined separation that this has the components of a separate dwelling, as a separate entrance, possibly separate utilities, a separate bedroom, separate cooking and bathing facility, then it's a separate dwelling and it would need to follow these ordinance provisions. If it's an addition that simply is an extension of a corridor or hallway that leads to another bedroom, and in that bedroom you walk through that door, there's a kitchenette and a bathroom and a bedroom, then that wouldn't be considered a separate dwelling. It would simply be an expansion of that existing single dwelling that had a bedroom, a bathing facilities, and maybe some type of kitchenette, like you said.
Okay.
But we wouldn't necessarily consider it separate, especially if it didn't have a separate entrance, and that was the only way that you could get to it.
Is via the home. Okay.
Okay, that raises a question. I mean, there's two different things there. If it's in the ADU ordinance, it's still square footage. So to answer your question, if this petitioner who already has 3,866 square feet of floor area came to us and said, I want to put an addition, I don't want to put a sunroom on, they want to add 600 feet, they would have the same problem that they're over the 3,500 square feet, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, that's the issue. They're already over the 35. Okay, just to clarify that. Mr. Gantino.
You mentioned something that sparked a question in my mind. Obviously, there's going to be separate utilities to this building. I guess it's a question for the petitioner, or maybe for Mr. Murphy. Separate utilities to the project that's being proposed, but not necessarily separately metered, correct? When you say separate utilities, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the definition. Separate utilities for that structure, or separate utilities that are separately metered?
Those are all the fine details once they submit, if they submit for building electrical plumbing permits. So for instance, when I first met with the petitioner quite some time ago, we had talked about that, just kind of giving them that heads up as well, that you got to do the load calculations to figure out whether electrical code requires you to have that separate meter or not. And one of the comments that we had engaged in was whether you need a separate sewer line. And it comes down to basically load capacity, existing dimensions of the sewer line and the one in the street. And so he did that preliminary research to determine that wouldn't require a separate sewer line. I'm not certain of the other utilities, but water service line wouldn't need a separate, unless they wanted to have it separately metered.
But those would be, in the event that they did need those things due to load requirements of whatever the utilities are, those would be allowable within our ADU provisions?
Yes.
I guess is my question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can we ask that question to the petitioner? How is this set up with the home?
Come on up to
Is this
the microphone.
Is this a
Please.
separate sanitary lead? Is this separate electrical service and meter? Or are you tying into expanding your house panel and tying this in as it's part of the home?
My architect's not here, obviously.
Okay.
But I would expect that it would be all part of the same.
So you're not calling DT for a separate service drop, doing a
Yeah.
separate service tap, separate water line, it's all tied into the existing home?
I mean, she's got Alzheimer's. She's not gonna be able to handle another bill.
Well, understood, it's
Let me
just a
get
matter
this.
of how it's set up with the building.
It's a bedroom, a sitting area, a sink, and a shower.
So there's no kitchen in there, it's essentially just a separate bedroom, or separate, if I recall, there wasn't a kitchen in this space, it's a...
There's a kitchen. There's a there's a kitchen, there's a bedroom, there's a bathroom, and a sitting area. and you need to have a garage under the rules. And so my expectation would be that it would be the same bill. I don't know if that answers your question, meaning like,
It's the same fee.
same electric panel,
I
same
think
water.
I understand where you're going with that, so yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna tie your sanitary likely into your lead for your home.
That's what I would think, yeah. But I mean, that's not a, if the preference is to have it separate, that would be fine, we can manage it.
I think it's semantics at this point, I think it's more of a food for thought for just how I'm looking at it, but yes, curiosity, so I think we're
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Okay, don't sit down yet. 'cause
Okay, yes, sir.
I have a couple questions. First of all, you're at 3,866 square feet. How did that happen? Was it there already? Did you add, how did you get there?
We acquired the property, and then we built a new construction on the property. And then, but that was way before all of this. That was probably about 7, 8 years ago. And
Okay, that was
so-
before the 3,500 square foot limit?
Well, so I bought a house, I tore it down, and I built a new house there. And it was a 3,800 square foot house.
Okay, did you have to go before the zoning board to get,
I did.
okay, and they gave you a variance for that?
They did, yes.
Okay. Where is mom right now?
She lives in Clawson.
Is there room in the 3,800 square foot house for her?
I wish there isn't. And the house, the way that it's constructed, I mean, she's already fallen down one time coming down the stairs. It's just kind of like it's not really, they can't really accommodate her to be unmonitored. Just the way the house was constructed. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, I don't know your interior floor plan. I'm asking the question because there are interior ADUs. Some people could do that. In fact, I think people have done it. I just don't know where they're at. But that's one of the things you can do. You can make an ADU inside the house. If that's not a possibility, I just raise it. That's an architect question, but he's not here.
Right.
Okay, you just said something that I gotta, again, don't sit down. He said they need a garage under the ordinance? Don't they just need a parking space? Does it have to be a garage? Does not have to be a garage. Okay. Okay, any other questions for the petitioners while they're here? We might call you back up.
I'll just remind the board to keep the focus, while good questions for the petitioner's individual circumstance, that if the ordinance amendments are put in place, they apply not just to this individual circumstance, but they would apply throughout the entire zoning district.
Absolutely understood.
So something to keep in mind.
Okay, all right. You can have a seat, and I'm gonna keep my yapping going here if you don't mind, because I actually have a few things to say about this. So the idea of coming before us with a zoning amendment, because they didn't pass the zoning board, there was some carping about that. Quite frankly, I'm giving them points for being clever and resourceful and staying inside the law. I don't have a problem with that, just so you know. I think that let's talk about some facts. This is a 180 by 86 by 100 square foot lot. It's, by my calculations, 16,740 foot lot. It's a big lot. It's like 2.5 times the size of my lot. I could put a 3,500 square foot house on my 6,500 square foot lot. They've got a 16,000 square foot lot. So they're under the same size restriction. If they were to be allowed to go to 4466 is what they would be doing, even if it was all on one floor, by my calculations, that's only 27% lot coverage. So when you look at that, that's something that we talked about, just so you guys know, really after the master plan was pretty much put to bed. We were approached by the zoning board. We had a meeting, and one of the things they brought to us, they said, you know, people who got large lots want more square footage. You guys are going to have to think about that. Well, unfortunately, the truth and the facts are we did not address that in the planning, in the master plan. I went back and looked at it. There's not one word in the master plan about changing anything having to do with the large lots. And one of the reasons for that is because all the neighborhoods were designated as for preservation. That was one of the things that was part of the political process that got us where we're at. Nothing in the master plan about changing anything in the neighborhoods that we're talking about. There is However, to counter that, there is some verbiage about housing and ADUs and a pilot program and trying to find neighborhoods where it's appropriate, and specifically in the aging in place, talking about areas near the central downtown and near commercial areas. Again, that's not this. What I'm concerned about, we're, as a practical matter, looking at this, I would say when we get to the master plan, this is probably something that we're going to talk about anyways. But, and it seems like a good idea to say we should let people who have large lots have a little more square footage. But it's not in the master plan, and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what your neighbors are going to say, or the neighbors, other neighbors in the large lot areas are going to say about an amendment to the zoning that allows for large lots to have more square footage. We just don't know what what's going to happen. And I think we need to hear from the public for that. So I don't think, I'm not worried about the comprehensive nature of this. If all other things being equal, I think it's a good solution, and I think other people might want to do it, but we don't know. And I think we do have to listen to the public. And so I'm a little nervous about giving this one text amendment, but then on the counter, if we're going to do a zoning ordinance, we can always take it back. we could give them the text amendment, and then when we do the zoning ordinance, we can just say, okay, scratch that. We're not going to do that anymore. We could do that. I have one more question, and then I'll shut up. Did we ask ZoneCo about this?
No, we didn't seek their counsel on it. They're under contract for something entirely different at this point. We will absolutely get to discussing appropriate square footages and
well, the reason I asked the question is because we're worried about the comprehensiveness of it. It seems to me ZoneCo would have something to say about that. But anyway, so those are my comments. I hope they generate some thoughts.
How many homes in this area are over 3,500 square feet already? Whether when they were built or when they were expanded, rebuilt, renovated? How many homes in these areas are already over the 3,500 square foot threshold, either when they were built back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, or when they've been renovated over the years?
Nothing was built in the 30s except Shrine of the Flower.
there is I'm sure everyone here remembers, and in the public, that the staff created a memo for you with regard to 3,500 square feet several months ago. I'm sure that you remember all the details.
It's been an ongoing conversation for
yes.
a long time, yes.
And in that memo, there's a link to a map of the 3 or 4 different areas of the city that are one-family large lot residential. And that was from 2019 when that conversation first came up after one of your joint meetings with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so I created a map of those, and it showed the assessing square footage. I don't know the percentage. If we click on it, we could get to it. There are a percentage, but it's a pretty low percentage compared to what you would imagine. And of all the different 3 or 4 pockets of one family large lot residential, that pocket, that neighborhood has the highest percentage of homes that are in excess of 3,500 square feet. But I don't know the percentage, but there are a fair number.
Okay.
The threshold for the large lot designation is 13,000 square feet, is that correct?
Yes. Mr. Cooper.
I'm sorry.
Keep going.
I see both sides of it. I think there's obviously apprehension of you're rewriting a text that's going to go across the board. I think this is a very small segment. There's not going to be a large rush of people to do something in these areas. I don't think there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of criteria that need to be met. I appreciate where you stand and building a lot of these homes across Southeast Michigan, of doing it right from the start of a multi-generational suite thing that goes on. And I think that, at least in this instance, it's tough because you look at it from its individuality versus the overarching changing the language for everyone. We're hung up on a square footage. They've met all the other criteria of something that we're trying to support. I'd be inclined to make this exception for now as a stopgap until we finalize this conversation that's going to be ongoing. I'm confident, at least in my eyes, that 3,500 square feet minimum or maximum is not an ongoing attainable thing for the way the world is these days on these lots. People, families are expanding. You're going to be looking to do this. So in my eyes, I think this is a rational, it's a very creative way of going at it. I think it fits the bill, and I would be in support of it.
All right. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and I echo those comments and would add, I think what Chairman Casada said, we're working on this right now. We can pause and do nothing here and make no changes, on anything until we get the entire zoning ordinance done. But in a situation like this where it seems very low risk, seems specific, it's kind of hinting within our current ordinances to get where we want to be to have a better way for people to age in place. I think there's very little risk, very little downside to try it. And if for some reason we have something that pops up unexpected, I think that's a good thing, because then it helps inform us how we want to better articulate or better maneuver within the new zoning ordinance. So I would support this. We'll comprehend it in a better, more professional way when we do the work in the next year and a half. And I would argue also this 3,500 square foot thing, if you look at the history, you have the staff report history on the max, and then you have the real world political history. And I agree. And I think, that aside, this senior dwelling accessory unit aside, unfortunately, we're in a position today where we have shortages in housing. We have economic winds that aren't looking so good. You're going to have a lot more people living in homes, kids living with parents, parents living with kids. It's going to be something that is going to be needed. And I think a little extra space never hurt anybody. So in this case, we can solve it, but I think that's something we need to look at, especially in these 13,000 square foot plus lots.
Mr. Ellison.
Do we have a motion on the table yet?
We do not.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the text amendment as requested.
All right, motion to approve the text amendment as requested. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Cooper. Is there further discussion here?
So I was originally just on the fence about this from the standpoint of I too wouldn't necessarily be an advocate for making text amendment changes knowing that we're going into an overhaul of our ordinance altogether. However, I think what's sort of putting me over the edge in support of this is that joint meeting that we did have with the ZBA and the discussion that we had around square footage specifically related to these large lot districts. And I think it was already pointed out a couple of times that the conversation that we're having right now really comes down to a square footage question. And the conversation that we had with ZBA demonstrated that, again, specifically within these large lot districts, relief from that 3,500 square foot ceiling was routinely given. And obviously, it's already been given on this property, but the reason that it's been given is ostensibly the ability for those properties to have a larger structure on them and it be reasonably placed on that structure and still be within the lot coverage ratios is why that relief has been given. As we look at the master plan and some of the statements in it, one of the goals of the zoning ordinance update is going to be to look at the provisions and do a rewrite to remove some of the obstacles to be able to affect and execute the master plan document that we've created. Right now, I think it was actually positioned quite well by the applicant to show we have a contradiction in terms of the way the ordinance is written, and it presents an obstacle. Because this is so narrowly tailored to specifically these large lot, the large lot properties, it is still limiting the size of these senior accessory dwelling units to the 600 square feet. I don't necessarily have an issue with this text amendment preceding the other work that's happening, especially considering if before that work is done, we realize this was some huge mistake for something that we didn't think about, we have another bite at the apple and we can amend this decision at that point when we look at everything. So I'd be in favor of this right now, not necessarily just for this particular applicant, but I think to Mr. Murphy's point, we have to look at it as how would this apply to all of the large lot properties. I don't think it would be an issue for all of the large lot properties to have this change occur. And again, if it's removing an obstacle for these senior accessory dwelling units to become more prevalent, even if it's just for these large lots right now, I think that's a benefit. So I'd be in support of it.
And building on Mr. Gantina's reference to the discussion between the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board, as we looked at the number of houses affected, that is large lot homes, or large lots rather, the thought was that if they wanted to go above 3,500 square feet, the only inconvenience would be that they then have to go to an architect. That is, their fees would rise to apply for a zoning variance. But the thought was, and the consensus really was among the Zoning Board and the Planning Commission, as I recall, that, you know, if you're allowed to have 30% coverage on your lot and you've got an enormous lot and you're only at 10%, it should be common for us to allow those homeowners to expand to 30% or some portion of that. And yet that's not what we're seeing happen here. So I think the common sense responses that we expected are not happening and affecting this homeowner, for example. And so while I generally am not wild about, I mean, this almost amounts to spot zoning. I'm not wild about carving out comprehensive zoning changes for a single homeowner. I do believe I'm going to support the motion.
All right, it's actually not a single homeowner, it's all large lots.
I know,
Yeah,
but
so, and there's various areas.
I don't think that there is going to be a stampede once this text amendment is changed to build more structures like this.
I have a question for Mr. Murphy, really quick. I'm looking at the senior accessory housing ordinance at 770-71. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I don't see where the, this is what's got me a little bit concerned about this. It says, provided all other area and bulk regulations provided in this chapter are satisfied and subject to the requirements of 770-71, you can expand, a single family dwelling unit may be expanded to add senior accessory dwelling unit. It doesn't really say that it is an attached unit. This doesn't use the word attached. I want to make sure we're clear that as we sit here today, our ADU senior accessory housing, it has to be interior or attached, not separate. Is that correct?
It can be either or, and you have that judgment. You can tell there are some shortcomings. That one of the reasons that Zone Co is going to help us research and craft a much better ordinance.
Okay, from your answer, I got to clarify further. Are you, as we sit here today in Royal Oak, can somebody build a detached ADU for their mother?
Yes, if you agree to a design that you feel is appropriate, yes.
Okay, so that could also happen because this is incorporating. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that they had to be attached or interior. Go ahead.
I thought when we reviewed this initially, it had to be touching the home, because that's why we had, this one is, but I thought because it was still considered an accessory building, it had to comply with all of the other rules.
Specific to the petitioner's request, which again is separate from the text amendment, it was a separate structure that was adjoined with a common roof line.
Okay, that makes it attached though.
In one sense, yes.
The
Again,
legal sense.
I wouldn't get hung up on the petitioner's design that you've already approved.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that if we pass this amendment, I just want to make sure that we're not inadvertently doing something that was very controversial during the master plan. We're not approving detached ADUs in large lot neighborhoods.
No, I wouldn't be concerned with that.
Okay. All right. Sure.
I appreciate all the discussion and the support tonight. What we're not changing is the special land use requirement. So with this amendment, the next person comes along, they still have to get a special land use permit. So if it's not appropriate for whatever reason, whether it be the location on the lot, et cetera, you still have all the discretion under that section of the ordinance to approve or deny. So just wanted to make that point as you work through this and mesh that together with the ordinance update. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? You know, the rule says you can't, anyways, never mind.
I whispered.
The rules don't always apply to him, so.
No rules ever applied to me.
All right. Okay, we've had the discussion. There's a motion on the table. Motion is to recommend adoption of the text amendment, second by Mr. Cooper. Are we ready to vote? I don't see anybody. Okay, we're going to call for the voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. Congratulations. Proceed. Okay. Okay.
Wait a second, yeah, Mr. Moore, come back in.
Yeah, we're gonna take just a couple minute break here. We got to reconvene our folks together, and they're scattered at the moment. So just a couple minutes here.
I debated messing with your computer while you were gone. I was trying to think of something funny to put on the background, but I was just tempted with too many choices. I'm sure.
figured as much.
No, I'm in the county. Older adult services. Chief, older adult services. Good to see you, Tony.
It's cold in here. I meant to bring a sweatshirt.
Here? Okay, folks, we're going to reconvene the meeting, starting up again here at 8:03. And we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which I have to make a little disclosure here before we go any further. So just, I'm a litigator, and just so happens in the construction industry, things happen. And at this moment, I have clients who I'm representing that are adverse to Fleece, Vanderbrink, HRC, and potentially Ronish. This is not who's before us, but Mr. Jarbo is involved. So I want to make sure that myself, I think I can go forward and be objective and fair. And I think I just want to make those disclosures. If anybody thinks I should recuse myself, I'm not going to be offended if you do. Okay, I'm going to consider that a waiver. All right? Okay. All right, very good. Mr. Murphy, introduce us.
In December of last year, at your December meeting last year, you did grant preliminary planned unit development agreement or PUD approval for the site at 14 Mile and Coolidge. It's an older industrial property that's been largely vacant for quite some time. And you gave them preliminary approval for a large-scale retail development, which is Kroger, along with their related auto fueling station, and then at the northeast corner of that property, the construction of an apartment building with 84 apartment units. And your preliminary approval constituted accepting their use, their concept, their design. They had very detailed drawings, and you gave them preliminary PUD and a certain time frame to come back to you for final PUD. So that's what they have applied for, and that's what you're considering tonight. Again, they're considering a request to rezone the property from general industrial to planned unit development. So you're ultimately making a recommendation that will be forwarded to the City Commission. As it's an amendment to the map, which is associated with the zoning ordinance, the City Commission must adopt that amendment, that ordinance amendment. So you're making a recommendation to them. So the changes from the previous plan that you approved in December to today, those are noted very nicely in the tables in the report, which are shown on the screen. I'll note a few of those significant changes, and then we can look at the site plan to see them more specifically. But they added what they refer to as a community space next to the rain garden, which is along Coolidge Highway. They added a water feature to the apartment detention basin, 6 EV charging stations associated with the apartment building, swapped out some trees to be more native versus those that are not. They added metal panels to the exterior of the Kroger building to be more in compliance with some ordinance provisions and your comments. They added windows along the west facade between the pickup window for prescriptions and the order area for grocery pickup. There are numerous changes to the signage that are highlighted in the table. They eliminated 2 parking spaces in the general vicinity of the Kroger building, the retail building. The total parking count now is 314 off-street parking spaces associated with, again, the retail component, the Kroger store. There are still 1.52 parking spaces for the 85 dwellings in the apartment building. The most notable change, and I'm going to bring up the drawing on the screen, is that there are 3 entrances to the site. 2 along Coolidge and 1 along 14 Mile Road. I'm going to hover over and then zoom in on the drive entrance along 14 Mile Road. So you'll see they're going to upgrade the traffic signal that's on 14 Mile Road at the entrance point to their property, which is, that's a drive aisle that's shared with the property owner, if you recall, most of you, that's shared with the property to the east, the furniture manufacturer. And so this drive aisle will again service as a shared easement service customers to their site, customers that drive further north to the proposed apartment, or those going to the property to the east, the furniture manufacturer. At that intersection, they've added a raised concrete island. You'll see a little triangular shape here. And that is to help prevent individuals that are, vehicles that are entering the site from quickly turning to the drive aisle, which I'm hovering over, that extends toward the fuel station. It's that point of conflict. Obviously, there are going to be a large number of vehicles exiting the site. There are 2 lanes to exit at that at that traffic signal, but there's one drive entrance. And so it's a potential point of conflict for those coming into the site and wanting to immediately turn and head west on that drive aisle to head to the fuel station. Their solution to that, addressing that traffic concern, is to create a raised concrete traffic island. And the traffic impact study that was done was peer-reviewed by the city's consultant on 2 separate occasions. All the items are resolved. However, the city consultant, and if you recall, staff had also mentioned a recommendation that the following site modifications be considered by the Planning Commission. And it all relates to this potential traffic at this entrance exit. So I'm going to refer to the image that's in the report. Again, they're suggesting that a raised concrete island helps solve that point of conflict. The city's traffic engineering consultant did suggest extending, and this is a close-up of that area, extending that landscape island so that there was very much explicit landscaping and a defined area which only allowed traffic to, which was on the site, to exit the site at the traffic signal. It would be physically extremely challenging for someone who's entering the site to quickly enter and head toward the fueling station. They're also suggesting that because this is such a facility that's going to demand a large amount of traffic, they are showing parking spaces that can be accessed directly off of that central drive aisle. As we know, and I'm going to refer to the aerial photograph as well, the manufacturing building to the east, again, shares that common drive aisle, and they have parking spaces along the side of their building. So what we have when we look back at this site plan is that there are parking spaces, again, up against this building, as well as parking spaces in Kroger's proposed design that can be accessed from the central drive aisle. The consultant is suggesting, and staff has pointed out as well, the possibility of the Planning Commission considering creating one long extended landscape island and removing all of these 12 parking spaces so that there is a very clear and defined and drive aisle that is much safer for vehicles entering and exiting. You must recall that there's a traffic light here, so this is a very focal point for people entering and exiting. There'll be upwards of over 1,000 vehicles a day estimated coming and going from this drive entrance. So you can imagine that there may be some points of conflict, and this suggestion for you to consider may help alleviate some of those potential traffic conflicts. And if those parking spaces were removed in your design recommendation to the City Commission, that would reduce their parking count, and you'd have to determine whether it would drop it below the minimum required parking. You'd have to determine whether that was something that would be a benefit to drop it below the minimum required, but you certainly have the ability to do that. And so I'll entertain any questions that you might have. That's my summary at this point.
All right, other questions for Mr. Murphy? Mr. Moore.
So if those parking spaces are removed and that right-hand turn into that drive aisle are eliminated, it looks like the only access to the fuel station would then be across the front of the store, essentially, like where the pedestrian traffic is at, correct?
Or you could access it from from Coolidge. There are 2 drive aisles. There's one very central, directly adjacent to the fuel station, and I'm going to zoom in on that. So the image on the screen, we were conversing about this drive entrance and exit along 14 Mile Road, and I'll zoom in on the fuel station area. There is a proposed drive entrance and exit along Coolidge, And it does have a deceleration lane on Coolidge, so it allows for a large number of vehicles to, I'll say stack, to slowly get into the site. But that vehicle, the Kroger fuel station can be accessed from either drive.
Okay.
Okay, but just to follow up on that, I think the question was, if people are on 14 Mile Road and they say, hey, I'm going to go in there and get some gas, the only way that they're going to get there is to drive right in front of the store.
Correct, yes. Or if they pass up that drive entrance, they can go to the one in Coolidge, but you are correct, yes.
Okay, and there's also the Coolidge entrance is designed for right-hand turns, but not people turning in left. If you're coming south on Coolidge, you're going to need to come in on the very north entrance, I take it.
That is possible, yes.
Okay, and then you'll have to drive down this lane here that's shown. Okay, I think that was the question.
Yes.
Okay. Any follow-up?
Not yet. No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, but okay, we're not traffic, I'm not a traffic engineer. The traffic engineers, I take it, feel that it's a safer situation to have traffic diverted in front of the store than it is to risk collisions with the vehicles down by the entrance. Is that correct?
Yes, and it also has just a choke point for traffic too. If you have, I'm going to try my best to zoom in and wiggle the mouse around a little bit to give you a better scenario. So if you have someone coming in and trying to immediately turn, and there are vehicles stacked up to exit the site south at the traffic light, maybe someone has to wait and give you a little bit of room so this person can stop for a minute and then get in and turn in this way. That backs up traffic along 14 Mile because there is no decel lane on 14 Mile Road.
Understood. Okay. So there's not only collisions on the property, but also potential rear ends on 14 Mile.
We want to get people up and into the site and flowing into the site, and then they can go wherever they want. Once they're in the site, they can go to all the components of the site. But we want to get them off the main road onto the site safely.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Mr. Moore.
So their opinion is that triangle alone does not accomplish what we're trying to achieve of having left turns not be able to go that way, because it seems like we're now blocking people who are on the site from getting into the gas station. So is that what they're saying? It's just the triangle doesn't accomplish that?
They're afraid that people will still make that cut if the triangle is still there. And I said it was a raised concrete island. It's not. That triangle is landscaped on this landscape plan.
Oh, okay.
But they're trying to, in a perfect world, imagine all the worst case scenarios
Okay.
and make suggestions to you. If you feel as though this scenario, the design that the petitioner has shown is acceptable to you, you think that small triangle is sufficient enough to control people from wanting to make that turn, then you're welcome to accept it as is.
Okay, well, I think it's important for us to understand the import of the traffic studies and the dialogue between the two of them. What did the two of them come up with as the solution, and why? I think that's important for us to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're asking the questions.
Sure. The petitioner's consultant, the solution was to create the small triangular landscaped island. The city's consultant suggested this, essentially going that step further, eliminating more parking spaces, and you get to decide which one's best.
But even the petitioner's proposal
Yes.
would prevent left-hand turns. It's just that there would also be a temptation there.
Yes, and they've also asked to retain all of the parking spaces along that central drive aisle versus the consultant who has suggested landscaping it.
All right, understood. Okay. Other questions for Mr. Murphy? We're going to call the petitioner up here, I think. Are we ready for that? No more questions? Why don't the petitioner come up with your team, introduce yourself, and tell us why you're entitled to the relief you're seeking.
Dennis Cowan on behalf of the applicants, both Kroger and Symmetry Management. And with me this evening is Principal of Symmetry Management, Frank Jarbo. We also have representatives of Kroger and from the development team, including our engineers and those who have worked very diligently and worked with the city in putting together the plans and the final site plan that is before you this evening. You know, I always like to have every project have a song, and our song is The Long and Winding Road. We're getting there. We've been here starting back in July, and I would think that you all know that since that time we have had very significant changes that I want to supplement the list that Mr. Murphy talked about. But most importantly, you might remember when we were here in December, the major reason why we didn't come back very quickly is because we needed to do the traffic study either now or when we went before the City Commission, with your blessing. And the decision was made, let's do that traffic study now. We worked very hard. There were 3 back and forths in writing, in addition to many phone calls and meetings. And what you have before you this evening is there's probably about 100 pages of data and responses and amendments to the study. We have 2 issues. And I think that's pretty darn good, because of the fact that we work very closely and the traffic consultants, the experts work together, and we've come up with 2, I believe, minor issues. Nonetheless, they are issues that you have to decide, and Mr. Jarber will speak to those. But the important thing is that in their April 1st communication to you, Hubble, Roth, and Clark said that from a traffic standpoint only, HRC does find the TIS and site plan to be acceptable. And that was the goal we all had when we started that endeavor 4 months ago with the traffic study and the peer review that was conducted by HRC. So I think they've done their job, Fleece did their job for us, and together we've come up with, I think, not only something on a site plan that is very good operationally for those who will occupy the site, but also functionally works from a traffic standpoint and pedestrian standpoint. So the differences we have is, first of all, the obvious. It's now a mixed-use project with the multifamily building and 85 dwelling units. The community spaces have been referenced. The parking was discussed that we've had a reduction. Remember, we started out with 388 parking spaces. We're down to 314, which is your minimum. But that has resulted the benefit of an increase in green space of 15.9% of the total overall square footage for the site. Your minimum requirement is 10. So we clearly exceed that, and we're appreciative that we're able to do that. We also listened to your comments at the meeting about the sign clutter at the Kroger gas station, and that has been reduced. I think there's 9 signs that have been taken out, including a 20-foot high pylon sign. The architectural features have been updated to address some of the deviation situations. We have the 6 EV chargers. We now have a total tree canopy that has been increased to 159 new trees. Currently, if you've been there, I've counted them, there's 8 on the site and all of them are in trouble. So we will have a beautiful tree canopy at this site. Also, listening to your concerns, we do have connectivity via sidewalks or pathways, both from Coolidge, from 14 Mile, and from the apartment building to the Kroger site. We do have a proposal or a thought we'd like to speak about that was enunciated in one of the letters you got from a resident about possibly using some property at the Oakland Technical Center. We would prefer across Parmentier, and we can talk about that, and we think that's something that could be pursued as we go before, hopefully, with your blessing, go before the City Commission. I attached to my letter our evidence of compliance with the zoning provisions under 77098, the PUD standards, and also the rezoning standards. We can talk about that more if you so wish, but we believe that the applicants meet or exceed the required standards that you need to consider. So we do respectfully request your positive recommendation for a final site plan and PUD rezoning positive recommendation. We believe we have a better project than we started with back in July of last year, better than in December, and we think that is because of the comments we've received from you as well as from your consultants with respect to the project, and we have addressed those. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Frank.
Good evening, Frank Jarbo, Symmetry Management. Both of my firms reside in Royal Oak, exactly directly across the street on Delamere Court. Symmetry Management, which is our development arm, Jarbo Ronish Construction, which is our GC arm. And we picked this property specifically because it was right down the street from our warehouse, our office. One thing that I'd like to also, add with what Dennis put into the report was, we originally came and said that, I've heard a lot of talks tonight about affordable housing. Are we committed to last time, and we're moving forward with workforce housing on this site too as well. So there's a workforce housing component that's going to be, we don't have that project that cemented just yet, but we are working on it. Another thing too that I'd like to say is that, the connectivity that we did have all the way from, as Dennis said too, it's coming from all the way from the multifamily down to 14 Mile over to Coolidge. Furthermore, on the development, there is zero detention today. The building was built back in the 60s, I think. We haven't found any record of exactly when it was built. There's zero underground detention, there's zero above ground detention, and we obviously going to change that today. I do have both of my neighbors here, Bill Vogel, that's on to the east of the property, Ed Hirsch, that's to the west of the property, both in favor. Would like to say something. North of us was the other firm. They couldn't make it tonight, but last time you heard about their support too as well. Happy to answer any questions and concerns. There was also too a commitment last time of making a $25,000 commitment to upgrading someone in the community's electrical. I think we tried to get around the gigawatt thing. We couldn't figure out the exact verbiage of it, but obviously that still stands. Happy to have any questions.
All right, do the panelists have any questions well, don't go away if they have questions for you. Questions for the petitioner? Okay, I'll have a question here. I'm looking at the landscape, I think it's the landscape plan L1. It's the 10th page in there. I just want to make sure, you just talked about the connectivity. I asked Mr. Cowan about this at one point. So I just want to make sure we're looking at that. There's central there coming up off the the 14 Mile sidewalk. It looks like there's intention there that would be sidewalk coming straight to the center of the building. Is that what you're talking about? Is that a pedestrian pathway?
The one that's in the central, right?
Yeah, it's got hash marks across it.
That's from Coolidge. Are you speaking of the one from 14 Mile?
From 14 Mile. It has the hash marks there.
That was Coolidge. So 14 Mile is the one, if you scoot over a little bit.
You got to go to the center there.
No, the other side. The other way. Right there.
Right there.
That goes right down the middle. Yep, that's the connectivity.
That's going to be a marked path there that snakes around the building, and then to the north that cuts across at the northeast corner of Kroger and then continues up towards the water feature. That's what I'm understanding.
Yep, absolutely.
And that will be...
There's the connectivity right there, and then it goes further even north.
And how will that be, how will that be marked? What kind of material is it going to be? Tell me about it.
I would think that originally when it comes off from the sidewalk from 14 Mile, it might be a sidewalk concrete pad, and then it will be cross-hatched, striped to the store. Correct, Jamie?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Some of the hatching there is to...
Introduce yourself and give your answer there, please.
Jamie Antonovich with Atwell Engineer for the project. So there's stamping or brickwork, I forgot exactly how it's phrased in your ordinance, to define the pathway, through that area to the apartments.
Okay, I'm just want to make sure that things are called out. I don't know what the lighting is going to be, but certainly that was a concern that I had, so I appreciate that. All right. Are there other questions for the petitioner besides mine there? Mr. Ellison was first.
Just a quick question. The apartment complex, do you do that at the same time as the Kroger construction-wise?
Yeah, I would say within a couple months that, depending on permit-wise, but we want to see both developments go up at the same time.
So we go at the same time?
Yeah.
Mr. Cantina.
So getting back to the connectivity and the pathway, just so I can understand correctly, it's not necessarily a delineated pathway in the sense that it's just striped or stamped into the pavement. There's no physical barrier between that pathway and the parking spaces.
No, there is no physical barrier. No.
Other questions? I had a question that slipped my mind, so you guys take a turn there.
I'll jump in.
Mr. Cooper?
So again, with the pathway that's running through, you're at the front bumper end of the parking spaces. Are there, concrete blocks, or what's going to prevent somebody from, backing in a truck and having the bed hang over and block that pathway?
Yeah.
Do we have parking blocks there?
I think there ultimately will be.
Yeah.
That'll be considered.
I'm just curious if there's enough space, because I know you get a lot of people that'll back into a spot, like I've got a truck and,
The
there's no-
spaces in the area are deeper, they're 20 feet, so we do
Okay.
have a little more space to define it with a bumper block to provide that, prevent that overlap.
Okay, and then with regards to the comments that were made previously with that triangle that coming in and the parking modifications.
Yeah, I'd be happy to weigh in on that, kind of our thought process there. I'll focus on that, I guess, triangle first. So yeah, the total intent is to prevent that left turn lane. Don't want anyone moving there. The reason we want to maintain it wasn't really even focused on the fuel, just if someone is in that lane, we want them to have an opportunity to come back into the property without having to go out to 14 Mile. So it gives someone the ability to circulate through, if there's, the spaces are full, they find themselves out on that outbound drive, and then if we close it off, they'll have to go out to 14 Mile. In this case, they can get back into the site, circulate further for parking or
What
whatever.
does that look like entirely? Because even with like a small landscape, like those are suggestive for drivers.
So I mean, this
And
is going to be.
snowplows are going to nuke it. It's going to, if you put landscape in there, it's going to be salted to hell and dead within a season.
It is meant to be a raised, it's curved and then landscaped. So it is a concrete curved defined island.
Okay.
Yeah, just the outbound movement and then the, right-hand westbound movement.
And then with regards to extending the green island, so you don't have the spots accessible to the drive lane, I just look at it as people don't pay attention when they back up. Same thing if someone parks like an idiot, you're now, hanging out in the drive lane. Like, I just think that's a bad idea.
Part of our argument there is it's not the first parking and not the only parking. The parking to us, it has value to be retained rather than closing that off. We typically see parking in front of the doors, extending quite a ways back before the sides start filling out. Also, part of the reasoning was, grocery visits aren't a quick in and out. This isn't a convenience store. This isn't I'm getting in, moving out into maybe the busiest time of day. There's a certain amount of time a trip to the grocery store will take. So if they're parked there, there'll be some delay. And then, I guess for me personally, you kind of learn whether you want to park there, if you want to pull through, and how those spots might be used effectively. So, most of the time we don't see an issue there, and that the operations here kind of mitigate some of the concerns.
Because that drive lane's more for, that's also accommodates the apartments, not just.
It does, correct. But it is a stop-controlled entrance. The island is extended to the point with consideration to what the traffic study shows for the stacking. So there's ability to get beyond what stacking there might be at the traffic signal before those spaces are blocked or used.
Will semis be utilizing that for deliveries? Will trucks be utilizing that drive lane for deliveries?
We're really expecting them to more come off of Coolidge. It's more direct access to the rear of the building. Yeah, so that demonstrates our expectation.
So they're able to spin around and come back
Correct.
out?
There's enough space for the turnaround to back in and also to leave that direction.
Okay.
So I think one more thing, Mr. Cooper, is on the drive lane, if you're on the site and traveling south, if you block that entrance, you're not allowed to make a quick right into the site. So if somebody from the multifamily site comes down that drive lane, they'd have to use one of the parking stall lanes in order to get over to the gas. I think it's also acts as an escape lane, so to speak, if it does get backed up there, and people could eventually just maneuver and go right and maybe use the other exit out.
Okay.
Off Coolidge.
And then you had also touched on potential access via Parmenter. I think we talked about that previously. It's at a vacated stretch of street. I think, was it deeded off to somebody, or what are your thoughts process on?
So what we said to the planning commission too is like we would enter into some type of maybe floating easement in the future as the sites to the east continue to develop and they wanted access to our site, we'd be happy to accommodate in some type of capacity, whether it be connectivity walkway or a drive lane or whatever it may be.
So that's a future TBD, haven't
For
talked with
future
property
TBD.
owners that are there?
Yep.
Okay.
We've done that in future, we've done that where we've been the middle development on a site, and we've used future accesses on both sides of our development.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Which section of the parking lot is the drive-up pickup area? Is that the left rear area there in the corner?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Cantina?
Shifting gears to the elevations for just a second, staff report indicates that you've added metal panels to, it says all the elevations, but I believe that they're not on the rear elevation. On the east and west elevations, it says here decorative louvers salvaged from the existing building. Are those the metal panels that have been added, and are those truly being salvaged from the existing building that's there?
So I can only speak to what I know about this, and I think that we're trying to reuse the metal louvers that are on the front of the building there. Whatever we can salvage, try to reuse. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but we would reuse them.
Thank you.
All right, I'll have a quick question here. Just speaking about, there seems to be some controversy about giving up the 12 parking spaces along the east drive lane. The consultant says they ought to be turned into a green space, and you guys don't want to give up the 12. And we're not trying to redesign, but was there discussion about doing partway? I would think that maybe closer to the store, it would be, either closer to the store, there should be landscaping, or maybe south of there. I'm just asking, is that discussion to take place? Some sort of a compromise?
I think we're open to some type of compromise there.
Okay, did you guys discuss it? That was really my question.
No, with HRC, no, we did not discuss that.
Okay, I think the purpose of it, if I understand correctly, is to prevent people from backing out, but I don't know if cars accelerate more or they get stacked up farther north, farther south. I don't know. Just I'm raising the question. All right, other questions for the petitioner? I'm going to ask another question since nobody's asking a question. The walkway in the center of the property, how wide is that?
What is the dimension?
Is there a dimension on there?
5 foot.
It's at least 5.
Yeah, it's 5 foot. At least 5.
I believe it's actually wider than that. Go ahead.
It's got to have a note on the drawing.
I'd have to blow it up.
It would be on the general layout rather than the landscape.
Well, that doesn't appear on every sheet.
Right. I would say it's not currently dimensioned. It is, at a minimum, will be 5 feet.
Okay, thank you. Yes, okay, here's what we'll do. Have a seat, we're going to open the public hearing, and we'll see if we call you back up. I know there are some people who want to speak. All right, we're going to open the public hearing part of this. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to come up and speak on this item, please come on up, introduce yourself, and you got 3 minutes.
My name is Edward Hirsch, Franklin, Michigan, and I'm the property owner to the west of this property is on the 14 Mile on the east corner. I'm on 14 Mile on the west corner. Definitely in favor of this project. The building that's there right now is totally obsolete. I don't know if any of you have been in the building, but it's definitely obsolete. And a grocery store is good for the community. And if the consumers have more places to shop, bring down prices of groceries. People are strapped for cash today, and more competition is great for the people of the community. And it's a beautiful project, so I think you guys should approve the project.
All right, thank you. Looks like you brought somebody.
My business partner.
I'm the other half of the,
Oh, okay.
I concur.
All right.
It's time to update the corner. So I think it'll be a great addition to the community.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, anybody else? Come on up. For the hat trick.
I appreciate that this development provides new homes for our community. We are experiencing a housing shortage, and projects that provide new homes to help ease the shortage are a community benefit. I'm glad to see they've added some pedestrian access to the homes so the families who live there can walk to other destinations in our community. However, I'm still a little concerned about the pedestrian access. I actually walk to the lot at Maple and Coolidge sometimes, unlike probably nearly everyone in Royal Oak. I would not walk there to go to the Kroger right now. If I need to go to a grocery store, there's no way I'm walking that way. You have to go past Sacra Transfer Center, which is a bunch of trucks and smells. But if I need to go to Michael's or Home Depot, I do sometimes walk there, and it's awful. That Home Depot has this kind of thing where you stripe it, and that's where you walk. And cars park there. They actually use it to hold the garden center sometimes. It expands into it. I really dislike that the pedestrian path isn't raised or separated, because I guess even raising it the way they have it, cars are gonna back over it. You're gonna be tripping over hitches of trucks who back in. So I really do want this. I would walk to it if it was there, but I'm really concerned about that main pedestrian path in. 5 feet is not very wide. And so if you have a couple cars that have backed in on both sides, there's no height difference. I mean, especially if there's no height difference, people are gonna be pulling across in parking there. I think that the pedestrian path is not ready, especially because there's no, the housing is still requiring that path for those people to get to 14 miles. So if they have their bikes or something and they need to get on their bike from the housing back to 14 Mile, they're gonna be going in front of the store and then down this path that there could be trucks backed over. So I think overall, there's a lot of good here. I appreciate the housing. I also saw that it attaches to the school district property on the north. I really think if they could get an easement through there to get that access out, that would be a great benefit, right? So that you're not fighting this traffic. But I don't know, just as someone who walks to grocery stores and walks places, I really think that if there was a landscaped aisle that was raised up or something, and I know that they're tight on parking, but if they were willing to give up some parking spaces to really give a nice, good pedestrian aisle, I think it would make a big difference. And again, if you can get people to walk places, you don't need as much parking. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Greg Bartelt. I spoke to you about 6 months ago about this project as well, so I'll probably repeat myself a little bit. My wife and I purchased the building just east of there 27 years ago. And I don't know if you remember that area 27 years ago, but if you go to the corner of Maple and Coolidge, it was pretty much all just abandoned, kind of industrial. I think there might have been a Ford property there or something. So over that next 10 years, we saw that area get completely developed. And from the beginning, I thought that this property would be developed in some kind of a retail or residential. It's been 27 years, and I think I said that before. We've been living next to this building. The sewer system is inoperable. Our building, from the day we moved in, just started flooding because many of the sewers on the property from the 1960s have imploded. So we fight flooding issue there in heavy rains. We're big supporters of this. I think my fear originally when I thought it would be developed, I think what I didn't want to see was a strip mall with a smoke shop in it and so on that we see all over the place. I think we're really, really fortunate to have a respected national retailer to take on this project. And I think they've done a beautiful job. And I think that we've, over the years, maintained our property at a very high level. And it would be wonderful to see the same thing taking place to us. So I strongly support it, and I hope that you allow this to take place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Tony Snow, again. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but the traffic in that area is crazy anyway. I go to Home Depot probably 2 to 3 times a week there, and it's crazy. But this project looks like a pretty awesome project there. The one thing I looked at, Gary, and I think you kicked on a good point, is that parking when you exit there. If you don't have that island at least part of the way up, I think people are going to come down and start going through the parking lot. And I've seen, we've all seen that as we shop. People cutting through the parking lot and not paying attention to the right-of-ways. And I also was just thinking, if people are generally loading their cars or trucks from the rear, and you've got an exit coming right behind them at maybe 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, and you got a person with a baby and a cart and a stroller, and that's open to somebody getting hit loading their groceries into those parking spots. So that was a concern to me. I have 15 grandchildren, and I have a lot of little ones, so I see them all the time in the parking lot with a stroller and a cart. But that was my main concern, was that exit area, is safety there, and then coming down and or coming in off of 14 Mile and then cutting over to get to the gas station. You can't have that little island there. You've got to have something. Do not enter the one spot that's coming out and going out of the parking lot, and then nothing that they can cut to the right of that and go through. And I think that island going part of the way up or most of the way up on the safety factor was my concern. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
I still have a minute and a half left. Can I talk one more?
Only for you.
Okay, I did notice on the plan, and I really appreciate this. So if you look at the east side,
you have to come up here.
Okay, sorry. If you look at the east side of the property over here, with that, and I guess that's just a green space that runs parallel to our building. Yep. Right? That's greatly appreciated. Our cars park all along there. So if we have the opportunity to back out and not have cars backing out at the same point, that's really will impact us very positively. If that island can be extended, I would support that, but I understand that if you don't have the adequate parking that's required, then that might not be possible. But thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna, because I just set a precedent, I'm gonna let you do it.
I just want to make a positive comment. The 1.5 parking spots for the apartments is awesome. That's, I went through the development on Washington, on Harrison and Washington, where the Button's old rentals, and they have 1.5, and there has not been any kind of parking issue with them. So the 1.5 for the apartments is awesome. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to go back to single service. Is there anyone else who would like to come up from the public and speak on this issue? I seem to think there should be. Nobody else? All right. I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to this side of the table and let's have a discussion.
I don't know if I'm able to make a suggestion.
You can.
Conversation that's come up. So at least when I'm looking at this plan and thinking of making something that's, I think, safer, more substantial, and more appropriate as a sidewalk up the middle of the building. If you're losing those parking spaces, you've got 20 feet. Instead of making that green belt, why don't we take some of that space, shift over, and make a wider, more appropriate landscape sidewalk that goes up. It's a little bit safer, more appropriate for people going in. It's a little bit more of a defined pathway versus having them walk up across an asphalt parking lot that's striped.
Just real quick, I read the ordinance and we are allowed to put conditions on this. Okay. And so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying if we took the 12 parking spaces and
instead of having a 20-foot wide green belt, you could maybe make it
have a
5 or 10,
right.
And then you've now captured more space in the middle if you kind of shift that lot over.
And allow for a more wider protected
Yes.
pedestrian walkway, which would also invite people to access by foot or bicycle.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, describe that again for me, please. I'm not visualizing it.
So the walkway that walks directly up the middle of the space.
Yeah.
That currently right now is just,
Yeah.
hash marked asphalt going up until you get to the middle here.
Right.
So what you would do is if we're taking away these parking spaces, making this a green belt.
Yeah.
So you've got your curb here, this could be about 5 feet. You now have about 15 feet to play with. To make this wider, these parkings can shift over and you have a wider space. So now you can theoretically have trees, landscaping, grass, whatever it is, more of an inviting sidewalk walking up where you're not dodging trailer hitches on the backs of trucks to destroy your shins and all that stuff.
Thank you, got it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? I personally, I have to say, Mr. Cooper, I would support that, but I can't make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer by any means, but I still have some concerns about extending that island and blocking off that right-hand turn into that outer drive aisle, because essentially you're then forcing all of the traffic on site to either exit the site and go all the way around to Coolidge and come back in that way to get to the fuel station, or to go across the front of the store, which in many stores I go to, including the Kroger on 12 Mile, is a highly congested area that people don't always adhere to these stops that are on the pavement. And I just feel like this is now forcing more traffic into an already heavy pedestrian area. So that is just my concern with the recommendation from the traffic engineers.
All right, and I'm not a traffic engineer either, but I do ride my bike and walk. In fact, I ride my bike to the Kroger at 12 Mile and Campbell sometimes, or Stevenson. And yeah, it can be a little dicey. I come in on the other road, but anyways, yeah, anytime you're crossing a parking lot in a busy time, it's an issue. So the further calling it out, protecting it, inviting people there, that seems like a good idea. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just a quick comment about traffic congestion. It's been my experience that so much traffic congestion is self-employed. That's the word I'm looking for. It's self-done. They create the traffic congestion themselves by not driving in the right direction, not stopping for traffic, and you know, they start doing things like that. I mean, you can watch a parking lot and people don't know how to drive in a parking lot. That's just my opinion.
Understood. Thank you. All right. Mr. Moore.
I just wanted to add another 2 cents on to my statement is even the people coming out of the apartment building would have to cross in front of the store or exit the site just to get fuel. So just another consideration.
Well, let me counter that. Just I mean, not to argue with you, but that would be equally. They have to go the equal distance, simply to go on the north side of the store and come down. If you look at it, it's like the equal distance. So they can go either way. They don't, you know, it's the same distance. So they don't have to go in front of the store. They can go behind the store.
I guess they could.
Yeah. But all right, Mr. Gantino.
So I just picked up something on the print, which is the bus stop that's at the south end of the property. And looking at like Google Street View, I wasn't actually sure it was an actual bus stop, but I do see a smart bus sign on the pole. It is in fact a bus stop. They've indicated on the print that they would be putting a bench. Again, I guess this is just more a conversational suggestion.
Which drawing are you looking at?
So I am looking at
page 4.
If you don't mind.
Drawing C1.1 is the drawing I'm looking at.
I think it's on page 4.
Oh, going the wrong way here.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, page 4, yep.
I'm sorry, C11 or?
C11, yep.
C11. Thank you.
So it's the south end of the property, just west of that south entrance. It's indicated a bus stop bench. I'm not sure if this is something that would need to be coordinated with SMART, but again, in the vein of thinking about pedestrians and mass transit, I would love for that to be a covered bus stop, such that anyone that is utilizing that bus stop to access the SMART bus isn't just getting a bench. We do live in Michigan. We get some inclement weather. I think a covered stop would be great there.
That's a good question. How does that, Mr. Murphy or Mr. Markham, how does that work if that's in the right-of-way? Is that something, it looks like it's outside the boundaries of the property. Is that something that could be part of this PUD approval or not?
Looks like there's currently no bench, so the plans would indicate that they plan on putting a bench in.
If it's in the right-of-way, it would be something that's governed by the transit authority.
Yeah, I think it'd be a SMART issue. They're the ones that put the enclosures up.
Chair?
Yes.
I have heard somewhere that Mr. Collin has excellent experience relocating bus stops.
Come on up.
It is a right-of-way issue, but I would believe that if there was support from the city, as well as some contacts that I have, that perhaps we could convince them that because of a significant retail location now that was not there before, that this would be a candidate for a covered bus stop that SMART could install. And we would support that.
Thank you.
All right. All right, other questions, or is somebody ready to formulate a motion of some kind? I would just say I like both, before you go, I like both of those suggestions, by the way. I like the suggestion of making the thing wider, and I like the covered bus stop. Go ahead.
Can you add those as not necessarily requirements? I mean, the bus stop, you can again, as recommendation that you work with SMART to get a bus stop, but you can't tell it to a bus stop.
It's currently a bus stop.
The bus enclosure.
Yeah, but so we would be saying you got to make it more than just a bench. That's what the idea would be.
Sure.
Oh.
Just before, to simplify, I hope.
Please.
In consulting with the client, we'd be willing to give up those 12 spaces. Take Mr. Cooper's suggestion that he's made to widen and create the
And protect.
a better protected main walkway area. But in return, we'd ask if we could keep the island as is, that is shown on the plan, the drive island. So
the triangle.
I'm just offering that as a suggestion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously, we'll work to our best to get a covered bus stop. I don't think nobody wants a bench.
Right, okay, thank you.
We can't call it a diverging diamond, can we?
A what?
As I was about to start, so all of our comments thus far in conversation has been with regards to Kroger. With regards to the multifamily parking, I am in agreement with the 1.5 spots. I think that's been appropriate thus far. I'm a little bit more, I guess, curious to learn. Frank had mentioned workforce housing, affordable housing. Is there a goal that you have set for that, or is there something a little bit more affirmative other than just we're working on it?
I'm sorry, again, we've been through a few application process for workforce housing. That being said, there's a lot to do with that. So we're still going through the process. I don't know how many units will be designated to that, but it is something that's definitely going to happen. It's not going to be affordable housing, it will be workforce housing.
Of course, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We're chipping away. You know, there has been some things going back and forth about the island there. There were some comments that would support leaving it as a raised island. There are some other comments that said, no, we don't want to do that. So that the petitioner, just to remind the petitioner, saying, I'll give up my 12 parking spaces and we'll take that suggestion from Mr. Cooper, but we want to keep the raised island instead. So that's what was suggested. We can accept that, change it, or not. But I'm just reminding people that's what happened.
I think the suggestion was that not just getting rid of those parking spaces, but still installing a narrow barrier.
Oh, yes.
Right. So it still links to the island in a way.
Yes, it would. I would assume it would match what's to the east of the building.
Yeah. I'm also hoping that they will put a sign on that gap there that says, wrong way, do not enter, for people who might be tempted to try to turn left while entering the property.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Are you ready to make a motion?
I'm going to make a stab at it. First, I'm going to ask Mr. Murphy, you have all the changes documented. We got these spaces and all the other stuff we talked about because I couldn't keep up. But if I was to make a motion is that we approve the recommendation from the staff on the staff letter with the changes as discussed at the meeting that Mr. Murphy has got, I propose that motion.
Do you want me to kind of elaborate on that? What I think the wording will be?
Just let us, yeah.
Okay. Is to retain the landscape island at the entrance exit at 14 Mile Road, and that it contain a wrong way do not enter sign, as well as extending the adjacent landscape island further north, whereby removing 12 parking spaces to allow for the eastern half of the parking lot to be adjusted to create a more defined and protected central walkway.
Good, nice job.
Wow. Impressive.
You get a star on your forehead.
Paying attention.
Planning poetic.
Okay, so that would be an addition to the staff. I think you also gave us some. You gave us some contingencies. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So is that the motion, Mr.
Yeah,
Ellison?
it's the staff recommendation letter with all the contingencies. They suggested all the comments about the PUD and the changes we just discussed. That is my motion, trying to encapsulate everything we talked about. Because I think we have agreement. I just didn't write 8 things down.
Conversation with Smart.
Oh, yeah, let me add that as contingency. We encourage them to have a conversation with Smart about an enclosure.
Well, okay, I think we can require that they agree as a condition to endeavor to have that conversation.
Well, I mean, come on, whatever lawyer words, will you translate his lawyer words?
It doesn't quite have the poetry that Mr. Murphy had. I think we understand what Mr. Casado is.
All right, so I'm gonna repeat the motion and see if there's a second. The motion by Mr. Ellison to recommend, we have to recommend approval, right? We recommend approval of the site plan with the listed contingencies from the staff report, as well as the Murphy added verbiage on the island and the extension of the green space, expansion and protection of the center aisle, and that the petitioner will seek to get a covered bus stop on 14 Mile. That's
Just a point of clarification, we're talking about leaving the triangle and not extending the whole island.
leaving the triangle, extending the whole island all up and where the 12 spaces are, which will now
So there
go
will still
away.
be a drive through there, it's just the triangle,
Just
not
the triangle.
wider.
If you're coming north, you can't take a left. You're coming south now, you will be able to take a right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
We'll go with the motion for the special land use first, and then the site plan. The 2 separate, I'll bring them up.
Oh, didn't we do that already, last time? I thought we did this, I thought we did step 1 already, and now we're just talking about the site plan.
Just take this one.
Still in that second, I think it would be wise to have.
Okay, I think we already gave them the special land use.
That's what
but,
got us to where we are today.
Yeah, but we can always repeat the fact that in case somebody was wondering.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We're discussing this motion, but we do not have a second yet, as far as I know.
Well, we're discussing what the special land use, but you're
I
right.
just don't want us to get away from the fact that
There's a motion on the table.
It
Looks like we have,
I guess before that's completed, does the reduced parking need to be incorporated into this motion?
Yes.
Now that would be,
yes.
Yes.
You want a special land use vote?
Wondered if we're looking for a special land use vote, even though, again, it was part of the preliminary PUD approval. I think it's appropriate to have a special land use.
I think it's appropriate to have it all together in this meeting, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to just restate the motion by saying that we're going to recommend approval of special land use and the final site plan with the listed contingencies from the staff report, Mr. Murphy's verbiage, and the requirement of the seeking covered bus stop. That's the full motion. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, now there's a second. Do we have further discussion?
So some may recall that I opposed this when we approved the initial, the first step of the planned unit development. And I still do not feel that this is what I would like to see on this marquee location as defined by our new master plan and our potential future zoning ordinance. Nevertheless, it would be foolish of me to not vote in favor of elements which significantly improve the proposal that they brought before us. So I will be supporting this motion.
All right.
Having voted similarly last time, I feel like I should make some similar comments. For me as well, this is not my favorite project. I would much prefer something else at this site. However, we are here and this is what we have in front of us, and I appreciate the efforts that were put forth to bring this project forward. I know it's always difficult to bring these packages together. It's certainly, what's being proposed is certainly better than what's there. It's better than the status quo. I think you still have a lot more opportunity on this project to do some really transformational things. Of course, you know, my focus is always going to be on sustainability. However, I'm also pragmatic, and I understand that we can't get everything. I think the changes that you made since the preliminary PUD conversation that we had have been very positive. One of the big issues that I had initially was the list of deviations was quite long, and my personal take on it was it didn't even seem that there was an attempt to comply with our ordinance. I think you took our comments to heart. As I mentioned, the changes are very positive. You responded to our comments. I appreciate that there's the housing component on there, and I think you've integrated it to the best that you can quite well. I think there's better community amenities when we talk about the pedestrian access and some of the site circulation. And I do believe that you've made a commitment to connectivity in terms of further development in the area with respect to the comment that you made in terms of potentially getting a sidewalk across the school property there. So similar to Ms. Douglas, I will be in support of this, despite how I may have voted in the past. I think the project's come a long way, and I appreciate your patience, and I also appreciate this process because I think it made for a much better project than what came to us before.
All right, is there other comments? Further discussion? Okay. I am going to go ahead and call for the vote. All those, I'm not going to repeat the whole motion again. Ditto what I said before. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none? Okay.
Just a question.
Yes.
Is the term Murphy list now part of the official lexicon of the
Yes.
Planning Commission?
Very good. All right, congratulations. Good luck with this, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich. Good to see you.
Okay, we'll let these people clear out a little bit, and then we'll go to the next one.
I'll be the last one.
Yeah.
I'm the only one.
Well, you always
They sat through this whole thing.
you always end up with dessert at the end of the dinner. So
Right? I went dessert.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to do this. Oh, where are we?
least have a sign variance.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, we're on to the next agenda item, which is it says a site plan at 620 Cherry. Please tell us about this.
Yes, this site is located on Cherry, which is slightly offset from Crooks Road. The site is zoned neighborhood business, and it contains a one-story, about a 1,500 square foot block building that's more recently been utilized as some type of professional office. And the petitioner proposes to convert the existing building into a carry-out restaurant, more specifically for sale of ice cream. They don't identify any seating on the floor plan or the exterior, the site plan, the site plan itself. So no outside seating, no inside seating. They're proposing they're proposing all interior renovations, which are a permitted use, not a special land use. If it had outdoor dining, it would be a special land use, but they're not illustrating that on their site plan. So they require 6 parking spaces per the zoning ordinance calculation. 6 parking spaces are provided. With that, I can answer any questions you want. It's a fairly straightforward, small site to consider.
All right, anybody have questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay, I have a quick one. The rendering inside, for the inside, seems to make it an attractive interior, and there seems to be a large space there, and there doesn't seem, I'm just wondering, what difference would it make for our procedures here if we thought that if there was going to be seating inside or stools inside, how would that make a difference?
We would treat them as a restaurant under the parking provisions in the zoning ordinance. So restaurants are required to have a considerable amount of more parking than a carry-out restaurant. So no seating, 1 parking space for 200 square feet of floor area. If you have seating of any capacity, the calculation is 1 parking space for 65 square feet. So far more intense, requires far more parking. Obviously, the logic being someone coming and sitting is going to stay for a longer period of time. You need to be able to accommodate the vehicles coming to the site to accommodate that time frame.
Okay.
A higher turnover with carry out, fewer spaces are demanded.
Okay. Second question is, there's no seating outside either, but traditionally ice cream eaters sit outside and eat ice cream. What difference would it make if there was seating outside?
Same thing. We would apply the parking standard, and it would then become special land use. This is shown as a permitted use. So we had that conversation with the petitioner and their design professional, and it was confirmed that they wouldn't have any seating.
All right.
Do the benches in their rendering not count as seating? And if so, does that mean they can add more in the future?
We did point that out, and as a change that the rendering should match the floor plan, should match the site plan. They changed the site plan and the floor plan, but the rendering didn't change for whatever reason. So the acknowledgement in the report is that they're not going to have any seating.
Okay.
I just got a quick question. I want to know how many customers you're planning on storing for the winter.
Can I answer?
Well,
it says customer winter storage.
Okay, well, you're gonna come up. I think that was a rhetorical question for now. You expect that question. Be prepared for it. Okay. Any other questions for staff or council?
So just dumb question on my understanding is, so the parking requirement, that's based on square footage of the entire building or only of the dining area?
Usable floor area, so we're going to exclude their dry storage, their break room, their freezer, their mechanical storage and bathroom. We take out a lot of the area. So where people can sit or stand and where people can actively work.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Contino.
I think this is just a rendering versus site plan question, but the rendering indicates some, looks like striped spaces on the east side of the building. I'm assuming those are not actually parking spaces.
That was in their original design. Again, the site
Just didn't come out.
it didn't change. That was the original concept, and that would have necessitated a variance because then they wouldn't have had the distance along the side of the building for two-way traffic.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I have one more question about the staff report that I forgot to ask. I think in here you say that there is additional screening required within the front yard setback. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm going to bring up the Google Street View image, or, Google Earth, or even Google Street View image would work, in that there's the property directly to the east, the adjacent, is a single-family house, and there is an existing masonry screening wall, but that masonry screening wall, let me get you can probably see it right here, I'll hover over it. That masonry screening wall stops at the front yard setback of that adjacent house. Your discretion to determine whether you think it's appropriate to extend that further towards the street, and if you do, it should be something that's dropped down in height, not at 6 feet. But it's your discretion to determine whether you think the existing circumstance, which is again the masonry, 6-foot masonry wall to the front yard setback, is sufficient or not.
Well, this says additional screening is required. Is the ordinance?
You have the discretion over that, over landscaping requirements. And there's really, we'll look at the site plan. In order to add landscaping, you're going to need at least 3 to 4 feet of width. Then that reduces the distance for the two-way traffic, which is right at 20 feet, which is the minimum now.
Okay,
so if you make them carve out part of this, of their property to add additional landscaping in the front yard, at that point, they're non-compliant with the two-way drive aisle width.
All right, I guess we need to hear from the petitioner because, okay. All right, anything else up here before we call the petitioners up?
Just from my observation and looking, if you're going to extend a masonry wall on that driveway, whoever's sitting in that driveway, I'm just looking at width of opening a door and now hitting a block wall. I think that would be ill-advised.
All right, anything else? All right, we're going to call up the petitioner. Bring up your team, please. Introduce yourself for the record and tell us why you're entitled to the relief you're seeking.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Van Lint, and my awesome architect is here with me, Daniel. I'm a Royal Oaker. I've been here my entire life. My kids were also born in Royal Oak as well, at Beaumont, which is now Coral Health. But when this property came up, I live 3 blocks from it, and I wanted to do something for my children. I have 3 boys, to get off their phones and their computers and their screen time. And I said, what can we do together as a family? And we could walk to as well. And this building came up. It's down the street. It was zoned for neighborhood, which I looked up that I could do the ice cream there. And so we went down this venture to hopefully do something I can do with my kids for a very, very long time. I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Okay, there's child labor laws.
Well, this was an opportunity today. I don't know if it would be then, so I can start now and build my way up there.
All right. Do we have questions for the petitioner? Oh, I don't know who was first over here. I didn't look. We'll go with Mr. Ellis. He's got seniority.
Just a comment, because I occasionally delve into history because I have more history in this city than just about anybody up here. But I grew up in that area. The main building, not the one you're using, the front one, was Royal Oak Frozen Foods for many, many years. And as a kid in the mid-'60s, we used to go up there and watch them butcher the deer that the hunters would bring back. But after all that blood and gore was done, they opened an ice cream parlor in the front edge of that building, right where the angle is. And it was good ice cream, and only for a couple of years. I don't know why they went, but so that's it. We're not setting precedent here. We've had ice cream with that corner before. It's worked.
Deer ice cream.
All right, Mr. Moore.
What is your plan for any seating? Do you have a future plan? What are your thoughts?
No seating. We did originally have a bench out in the front, but that was more when my grandmother took me to get ice cream. She needed a place to sit, and she couldn't wait So we have inside where you can wait, get in your line inside, that she could sit and wait while we went in and got our ice cream, just because she was elderly. But when the comment was made that we could not, if you did that, that would be considered a seating and not like a waiting bench for someone, we said, okay, we'll just remove it. So the goal is really to get in there and possibly go to the Haymore Park? Wilkins? Yeah, the new one. Or the one that's down the street, Patricia Park, where people will kind of, you kind of come, you walk or you bike. I hope you don't drive, and you get outside in the nice weather and then go for a walk and eat your ice cream.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And can I address that question as well? So one thing real quick. So we were going back and forth with Doug a little bit on sets of drawings. So I did want to point out to you guys that we did take the benches off the renderings and the parking lines on the side. Somehow that didn't get back to Doug, but that was where the discrepancy was. Also, regarding the benches in the front, it was never an intention to have outdoor dining or cafe seating or anything like that. It was really like a pedestrian amenity to just have backless benches, not comfortable, just again, so an elderly person could kind of sit there and, let her grandsons go order ice cream after the baseball game. So we did want to maybe inquire about that, although we did follow the suggestion of the planning department. But if there's a way to inquire that if we did put a bench there, can we avoid the special land use permit and, outdoor cafe qualifications, putting it then into the parking, the heavier parking calcs and whatnot. So I just wanted to address that.
All right, I think Mr. Moore had his hand up.
No, I'm not anti-bench. I was just wondering why you went with this approach, because I feel like even people who are, walking up, any of the ice cream places in town, you can see people congregating there. I live close to gyms on 11 Mile, and there's usually people sitting all over the place. So I just wondered why you were going this route and if you had a plan.
The park is literally right there. You can walk it through the park in the image printing. We don't have like a real true, there's like a little hump there, but not a true barrier where you could drive your car right through both of our parking lots, and everyone does it because they have no idea that they're not the same.
Got it.
And you could walk right through there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Thanks.
Mr. Gantino.
Would your intent be to be open year-round, or is this seasonal?
No, seasonal.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, talk a little bit about, the ice cream and how that is going to be. We can kind of see from the images, I'm sure you're going to have a service station, but talk a little bit more about the business and what it means to the neighborhood.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that, well, first of all, I think ice cream makes everyone happy. One, it's in the summertime. Two, it's really cute on the inside. And I do think it's a cute place for people to walk to. So not in the summer, summer, you're out, you're having fun. And for younger kids who can't drive yet, and they can ride their bikes, and like me with my kids, you have to have safety in numbers. An ice cream shop right down the street is really a neighborhood business where you can go to and feel comfortable with your kids. For at least in most of my area, there's no major roads you have to cross to get your ice cream and come back, and it's a quick turnaround where you're not gone for half an hour wondering where your kids are. But so the ice cream itself, what I missed when I was younger, because of COVID situations, I understand, you get to go in and see the ice cream. So we have soft serve, like you would on Dairy Deluxe, but then like Clark's, it's hand dipped. So you can go in, and the kids, I remember seeing it on the windows, I want this ice cream, this ice cream. So I missed that opportunity. Now that my kids are older and they can do that, they can't anywhere at this point. So I love that idea. So it's meant to do both, but at the same time, if ice cream come in and come out. And hopefully the neighborhood loves me and wants to keep me around. And your children. And yes, that's true too.
So I actually have a question for Mr. Murphy. I know it's a small front landscape area, but if there happened to be a mound in that landscaping that people may occasionally want to sit on while they enjoyed their ice cream, is that something that would be considered a seating area? A mound? A mound.
A berm. Not an almond joy.
A berm. We only count traditional seats.
Mr. Mayor.
I actually have a question for Mr. Murphy, because I appreciate how our ordinances are structured and our land uses are structured. I think the average person would find it highly unreasonable not to have a bench. Whether you're in an auto mechanic shop or oil change, like whatever, to have a bench for somebody to sit on, let alone, I mean, a few tables and chairs outside, but at a minimum, a way to permit a bench on the inside for grandma, nursing mom, whatever. Is there any maneuvering here that we have today that would permit that to happen? Or is that something that, I mean, and I wouldn't want to put them through a special land use for a neighborhood ice cream place, you know?
Or parking variance.
That Nick Saban says will make everybody happy, you know? There's a quote, if you want to make people happy, sell ice cream. Thank you.
I love it.
Well, these are definitely things that we're looking at with the new zoning ordinance as well. So it doesn't mean that in a short amount of time we will have different provisions that'll make this permissible or not require any parking or reduced amount of parking or not have to go through a special land use process.
Okay, but I think the question was, let me just say, I'm going to echo the mayor. When I look at this and you know, come to the realization that there's has to be this maneuvering to stay within the ordinance, every ice cream place, even Dairy Queen and Jimmy's and the one on Woodward, there's some place to sit outside, benches, even, you know, a picnic table or whatever. And here this petitioner has to contort themselves because of that. And the question, I think, from the mayor was, is there something that we can do as a planning commission to obviate that as we sit here today facing this question?
No. That's why I answered it in the manner that I did.
And it literally says like a bench
Seating.
constitutes a seat?
Seating, we count, once you start to have any amount of seating, we count that floor area as a restaurant.
Well,
it's that black and white.
Okay, I'm going to say for the record that my position is that there are certain types of businesses that we make accommodations for, like drive-through restaurants, fast food restaurants, gas stations. It seems to me that this is an unreasonable restriction on an ice cream shop, and traditionally, there's a bench for an ice cream shop. So that's my statement.
I don't disagree with you.
We should do something about it. But, okay.
I'll just say quick from my observation. So there's a soft serve place on Woodward on the north side, north of 14. That same thing. It's on a corner. There's no seating. People will stand out there. They hang out. Or I think there's actually a dead end kind of barrier that stops people from going down the street. People kind of hang out there in that little island. So the thought of them walking over to the park is not unrealistic, and I think it's really going to be a neighborhood spot that everybody's walking to. So I think there's ways around it. It's not needed, and if we come up with a solution, that's great.
All right. Oh, I don't know who was first. He's senior. I'm giving it to Allison.
Go ahead.
It wasn't me.
Oh, it wasn't
It was me.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, you said you're senior.
I'm the old gray mare, yeah. Quick question, I'm looking at this where we've got that 25-foot non-existing wall where the block wall stops at the front of the building, and there was talk of putting a door or a wall in there next to the driveway. My concern is right now there's nothing going into the neighbor's driveway. Should we require something, maybe plantings or something, that would prevent people from strolling up their driveway or strolling onto their front porch or whatever? I'm just thinking it's really kind of some kind of visual stimulant. I don't want a wall, because you do run into a problem. You can't get the door open. But something soft like row hedges or something that would just visually discourage people from cutting through there.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
I think it'd be a really inhospitable location for plantings, just because you have salt from a driveway and, you know, coming off both sides. If we were to do something like a line, would that be like a stripe of some sort, you know, or even, you know, coming off that wall, would that satisfy that?
I've never seen a line that I didn't want to step over, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think it's a concern we should have.
We're going to address that, I'm sure.
Jenny, have you talked to your neighbors at all about this?
He's never home on the other side, on the right side. When I'm there to shovel or to sweep the leaves, he's never home. However, I do know Ron on the other side who owns imaging.
Okay, I think we just need to be aware of that potential problem. I think we just need to be aware of that potential problem.
Yeah. Like, you want me to go talk to the neighbor and say,
Well, I
hey,
think
what would you suggest? Or what would he be happy with?
You should talk to your neighbors anyways. I'm bringing all these ice cream people into my yard.
Okay, Mr. Mayor was next, and then Mr. Moore.
Yeah, just on that last point, could be a problem, and, you know, just think of some ways that, you know, folks don't accidentally drive in there versus, you know, your place of business. You don't want to have the neighbor have an issue.
I do not want to have issue. I was thinking maybe even planter boxes that, since we're only summer, I could put cute little planter boxes down the line, just so that it separates where it's not so, I can remove it then in the winter when no one is, well, even October, November,
You
December.
got 5 spots. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a high traffic, you know, 100 spots where you're going to have people coming in and out of that driveway. And I'll just say, like, from a neighborhood point of view, Mr. Moore and I are neighbors. And Jim's, I mean, I would say a vast majority of people, I mean, some people drive, but I feel like half their business, if not more, is all walk. I mean, we walk. For sure. It takes a little guilt away from me, you know, getting the large versus a small ice cream if I walk there a half mile. So I think it certainly, these type of establishments are completely neighborhood. You know, and maybe we can't do it here, but I'm going to work to look to see. I mean, I don't want to see, I mean, it's a bench.
Maybe they can propose a text amendment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that, you know, not that we have to lift heaven and earth to make it happen, but I think there's got to be a way, because I think in any service situation, whether you're selling food or not, you should have a place. We have an aging community. Oakland County and in Michigan, with the boomer generation, we're getting older, and people shouldn't be excluded from getting ice cream because they can't, you know, necessarily stay. It almost seems like an ADA requirement to me, but you know, I at some point in time in the future, whatever we have to do in the zoning or whatever, it'd be nice to have the ability for you guys to have some seats out there and everything. Recognizing the park is there, that'll be great for a lot of people now and in the future, but you know, our hands are a little bit limited, but let's talk. Maybe there's an end around that we can work with to help with that.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the screening wall here on Google Earth or Google Street View, sorry. And by the line and the pavement, it almost looks like that is on the neighbor's property. And I would be a little hesitant to require something to be done there without input from the neighbor, because that could potentially change their turning radius that they're used to. And, you know, I see they have some trash cans that they store there, so they obviously want to get themselves straightened out before they get further up into their driveway. So without input from that neighbor and how that could affect their day-to-day life, I would be hesitant to require something like that.
Go ahead.
I'm going to offer a simple solution. It's asphalt maintenance seal coat. Dark black, existing asphalt for the other driveway. You're done. You got your line of delineation.
Well, I think
a curb or anything else is going to prevent somebody from walking up, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the mayor.
I mean, I look at it on Google Earth. I haven't seen it in person, and I don't see how you could confuse it. I mean, when I look at it, it's like I'm not pulling into the house's driveway. You know what I mean? And how many? I'm sure the ice cream is going to be so awesome. People are going to drive hundreds of miles to come. But I mean, for the most part, it's going to be a neighborhood issue. Everybody knows what to do. I wouldn't borrow too much trouble on this, but if it does become an issue, I think that there should be amicable resolution, because I don't think a business owner wants to have an issue with their neighbor. But the neighbors, well, it's not a public hearing, but I agree with Mr. Moore. There might be things that, without knowing what that neighbor wants, I don't know that we require anything permanent. And to me, I don't see how I look at it, I'm like, that's a house next to a business. I better not pull into the house's driveway.
All right. Was there another hand up? Okay, I have a question. This is a site plan, so it's not an official public hearing, but I don't know if these folks are here to talk on this issue, but if they are, we'd be happy to hear from them.
Okay.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this.
Okay. Are you a member of the public?
I am.
Do you want to speak?
Hi, I'm her sister.
And our rules say the chair has discretion to, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Leanne Stadler. I live in Royal Oak, also in the neighborhood. I fully support the ice cream shop. I think I have 2 kids, one at Northwood, one at Roms. I would love to walk my kids, not cross any busy streets, let them have some independence, go themselves, because I am concerned about the ice cream place we go to now, we have to cross many major roads, including Woodward. So I would love this. I think it'd be a great addition to the community. I think it's a gathering place. I think it's positive. I would love my kids to get off screens. And this is also a family treat. People love to celebrate. So I would love this in our neighborhood. And I do appreciate that you all see that it needs a bench. Or something. I think it's, I know you're following laws, but it's amazing that, you recognize that, so thank you. I would like a bench.
All right. Anybody else in the audience who'd like to come up and speak? Come on up. Introduce yourself for the record. You got 3 minutes.
My name is Craig Mangold. I'm a resident of Royal Oak since 1976, and I live at Pinehurst, which is like 12 and a half in Crooks, east side. And I would love to be able to walk down here without crossing streets with my grandchildren and be able to get an ice cream. And I guess probably what I'd do is bring my beach chair with me on the walk. Also, just one comment. I mean, I have the neighbor, but if I lived at that house right next to it, and I got this big wide driveway to pull into before I hit my wall, be separating the 2 properties, I think would be great. I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of nice that I have this, wide area and backing out and in. So, but talk to the neighbors, see what they want. But I think it's kind of nice the way it is. That's my spiel.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't see anybody else in the audience, so I'm going to close the public comment and come back to this side of the table. Mr. Cantina.
I was going to make a motion, but.
Oh, it was like who drew first, but.
Well, I'll do it.
All right, I'll second that.
So before I make the motion, I just want to say I used to live very close to this property as well. And I'm actually quite glad you didn't bring it forward much earlier, because I know I would be going there way too much. I think this is a great concept. It's a perfect spot for it. I think it's a great amenity for all the neighborhoods that are surrounding it. The fact that Northwood, both my kids went to Northwood, is right there. It's going to be a great treat for the kids getting out of school. I am fully supportive of this, and I'm grateful that you're bringing it forward. So I would like to make a motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve the site plan as presented.
Yes.
Is there a second? Second by
Do we
Mr.
need
Cooper.
to make a comment about waiving the wall extension?
This is an interesting question, because the staff report says that it's required, but there's nothing on the site plan, and the staff report, if we were to, the contingencies, I don't think state that there has to be one. It says, as otherwise determined as necessary, landscaping and screening, and since we didn't add it, but we could address
I
it.
just want to make sure, because in item C, it just says, however, the planning commission may waive or modify the standard during site plan review. So I just want to make sure we don't need to have that caveat in there. If we're seeing the site plan, it's not there, and we approve it as is, then great. Or do we need to have that catch-all to say that it's not, we're not requiring it?
That number 2, contingency number 2, we're saying, we're going to address that by saying no additional screening is required.
Yes.
Is he allowed to make a friendly amendment?
Well, I was just going to say I'm happy to amend my motion to indicate that no additional screening is required.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the site plan as submitted with the contingencies, and the note that for contingency number 2, no additional screening or landscaping is required. Okay?
Yes.
And second by Mr. Cooper. Yes. Is there discussion on this? I have something. First of all, I agree we shouldn't require that. I am a little curious. Is the site plan, did the neighbor get notice of this or not?
No.
Okay, we might want to consider that too. I have one question for the petitioner, if you don't mind to come up, let me ask you a question. I don't see a bike rack on here. Are you going to have a bike rack?
I was not, but I can definitely add one in.
Okay, it just seems to me if you want people to bike there, they might want a bike rack, but
I guess I'm hoping so when I bought the building, that side that had those parallel parking spots were there, and I think originally I was like, oh, just you don't park, you just go there. But then it became that the width of the driveway had to be so wide, so we had to get rid of those. So I was hoping that I would not parallel park right against a wall ever. So I was hoping there'd be more of a bike thing, but then we had to remove them. But a bike rack is a great suggestion, and I'm happy to put one in for sure.
Okay, I didn't make the motion, we're not requiring it, just seems to me it would be wise. Anyways, okay, that's all.
Jen, what's your target for opening?
Well, we were hoping this summer, but I think we're now gonna be next summer,
Okay.
just because construction and then permits. That's okay, we'll eat a lot of ice cream to get used to how
Well,
you
you just gotta
scoop.
make sure you have that storage room for your customers in the winter.
Oh, that's because the reason why we have that large of a break room storage is because everyone I've talked to expert-wise has told me, well, just in case, if you need more storage, you think you don't, and then you really do, and I go, okay, well, I'll just...
It was a play on word, the way it was a customer winter storage.
It says customer winter storage?
It says customer winter storage.
Oh.
So I figured you were gonna store your customers for the winter.
I did not know it said that.
Okay, I got one more thing to bug you
Sure.
about. I forgot, everybody should expect this. First of all, I looked at drawing, and your architect needs to come up here. Drawing C1.01, you've got your lighting fixtures there, which are all, to me, appropriate, screened, not glaring and stuff like that. However, if you're going to be open in the summertime, and you're going to be open late, you're probably going to need more lighting if people are standing on that plaza out there. And I would just encourage that you continue to be very mindful of our lighting ordinance, which says no glaring. You're not supposed to be able to see the light source from the street. I mean, good lighting, as you know, makes a huge impact on a built environment, on the space. If you want the space to be great, you got to have very well thought out lighting. And I'm just thinking, you don't probably have enough lighting here to have for nighttime ice cream eating.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is still, preliminary to get through site plan approval, but that's a good point that you're making. I think we would add some lighting, but we'll make sure it's dark sky compliant.
Right,
and
thoughtful lighting.
make sure that thoughtful lighting and, address the front of the building so it's beautiful and attractive.
Right. The lighting is half the, you see a building, a well-lit building, makes you feel great. Bad lit building makes you say, where am I?
This is true. Thank you.
All right.
That's a good comment. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think when we went through our master plan process, we fully recognized that, ironically, we had a big Kroger get approved here tonight, and that's fine. And I'm not knocking Kroger at all. I think that's going to be a good spot for that. But what really I think excites and really builds on the fabric of community are small businesses that you plan to open here. And I think not only are they healthy and good for the community, they're an amenity. It really, I think of an ice cream shop in a neighborhood as something that really does improve the quality of life for people. You have that bad day at work, and we say celebrating things, but in my house it's like, all right, it's been a crappy day. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go walk to the to Jim's and get ourselves an ice cream cone, and at least we'll feel better for the 30 minutes while those fats and sugars are on our tongue.
Walking to Jenny's.
Yeah, I mean, I probably need to walk to Jenny's now, based on how I've been packing them on lately. So I really do think this is a great investment, and I don't want to, see it, because it's a smaller business, it's one of these things that has a material and big impact in the neighborhood and for the city overall. And this is exactly what we're trying to see on the neighborhood business edges of our community. It's great. Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to say one last thing before we're going to get to the vote here, but I don't know what your relationship with the neighbor is, but somewhere down the road, maybe with the art committee or something, that wall is a great place for a mural.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I'm going to be best friends with my neighbor. He's going to have free ice cream for life.
All right, very good. Any other further discussion on the site plan? The motion by, I believe, Mr. Gantina was to approve the site plan with the list of contingencies, and noting that number 2 is contingency. We're not requiring any further screening. Having no further discussion, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. Very good. Congratulations. Have fun.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Sign variance was taken off the agenda, so that leaves us with, whoops. What do I do here with my thing? Are we on to non-action items?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't in the packet for your review the administrative site plan approvals that our office has processed in the last quarter. And I will add one more item.
Okay.
Last month, ZoneCo, the zoning ordinance consultant, provided you with a timetable of all their actions and their anticipated timeline associated with those actions to complete the entire process. They're in phase 2 or module 2, which is a diagnostic phase. And it's apropos based on a lot of the conversation that we talked about today. We have a master plan which has policies established, and we have older zoning ordinance, and they're coming up with what's the mismatch between those two and identifying those in very black and white manner to get your input on how to move forward with correcting all those mismatches. So that's what they are going to come and provide to you. I did indicate to them that by their schedule they should be complete with that phase by the end of this month. So I asked them if they would be prepared to come to provide a presentation to you on that, as well as discuss their public engagement efforts, whether that would be May or June. Based on some of their scheduling, they said that they were available in June. Now, I took the courtesy at the beginning of the year to reserve this very room for every day after you have a normal meeting. So I did ask them if they were if they would be able to come on Wednesday, June the 10th at 6 p.m. for a special meeting. And I also, again, have the room reserved and confirm that it can be recorded, broadcast, what have you, by WROK. So I'm asking you if your schedules are available to make and adopt a motion to have a special meeting in this room on June 10th at 6 p.m. in order to continue to discuss your efforts to revise the zoning ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Second. So the motion is to hold a special meeting on Wednesday, June 10th at 6 p.m. in this room to entertain ZoneCo and get a report and some iterative discussion with them on what I'm hearing. I have to check my calendar here.
Would it be safe to assume that this meeting is already within the budgeted amount for this project already?
Yes.
And within that, please be conscious that we do have a separate agreement with the law firm, so to the extent that we could exclude.
Yes.
Okay, I'm clear, so I'm going to vote yes. Everybody checking their calendar?
Yes.
7 p.m.?
6.
6.
6 p.m. on the 20th? 10th?
Yes.
Ooh, not July 10th.
June 10th.
I know. I don't know how to operate this phone pewter.
We may even have ice cream for you.
You know what? Mr. Murphy, you're on a roll. I don't think that's a terrible idea to have an ice cream social meeting for the public and things like that. That is a great idea.
We can make that happen.
They have plenty of places to sit.
PC.
I'm just waiting for people to put their phones down so I know that they check their calendar.
Yep, I'm good.
Special meeting. There we go. I think I got it on the right day. We'll see. He's on a dating app.
It's on Snapchat right now.
It's Jody. Swipe right.
Yeah.
Should we vote and Jim abstains?
He's there. He's on his calendar.
You flying a formation, man?
I can verify he's at the calendar.
He's good.
Thumbs up.
Good. All right, let's vote.
Okay, the motion is to hold a special meeting of the Planning Commission with ZoneCo on Wednesday, June 10th, 6 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. We got a meeting set. Will there be,
I'm assuming you'll notify us.
Yes, certainly.
will there be any, and I would encourage this, will there be any advance documents that will be sent to us to prepare for this meeting from ZoneCo? Like a report?
Yes, you'll get the diagnostic report. They'll provide it to staff in advance, so we get a chance to look at it. Once we do and get any comments that we need to them, back to them for revisions, we'll make sure that it's an attachment to the online agenda well in advance of the meeting so that you and the public have the opportunity to look at it.
Okay, and you will have comments and responses as well. So you're going to have two things, if I heard you correctly. You're going to have them have some sort of a presentation you're going to have a report on.
No, I don't, well, we might, but I don't envision that. I envision a staff looking at it prior to it being made essentially public as part of your agenda.
Oh, I see. It'll be baked in. Your comments will be baked in.
That's what I envision, yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, we got to the point here where we would ask if any of the commissioners, even though it's getting to be 9:49, does any of the commissioners like to place anything on the record at this point in time or make any other statements or questions? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask if there is a motion to adjourn, which is the point we're at right now.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Cooper, second by Mr. Gantina. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.